you to be able to sustain your existing lifestyle, that's financial freedom for you. When I talk to a lot of people from different walks of life, they generally have these questions in mind. Why can't I retire early? Why can't I follow my passion, do something that I want to do without worrying about money? Why can't I do something which is very different from all my friends and colleagues to earn money? Every time people have this question, the question mark in their mind is, can I be financially free? Can you be financially free? Yes. But the question is how? And that how is never answered for anyone because our education system has never taught us how to invest. But it goes a little deeper than that. It's our cultural fabric. No one has taught us in our family, in our culture, in our system, how to invest money. Everyone has taught you how to save money. Your parents have told you how to save money. But your parents never sit and teach you how to invest money. And that's a gap which needed to be addressed. We thought we'll start building a platform to exactly address this. But then how do we go about it? There are financial courses, there are a lot of YouTube videos, there are influencers who are teaching this. But there was a gap to which we said we have to go back to very basics. And the very basics of teaching, why do schools work so brilliantly across the world, is community-based learning. So we said, let's start building a platform where you can learn from the community, where you have experts, influencers, fund managers, educators, who teach about investment, who tell you how investments work, what are the best strategies that they are following. We started this. It worked out amazingly well because it was a very open communication, chat groups, people were able to talk to each other. And then we noticed, sab baatein kar rahe hain, everyone is talking, chatting, discussing, but they are not investing. Why? The second bigger problem out there, fear of losing money. If I invest money in markets, if I invest money in different asset classes, I would lose money. How do we solve for it? How do we help people overcome the fear of losing money? We said, let's gamify the stock market. Let's build a virtual stock market where you can now trade and invest with virtual cash without losing money. And this worked out because now people were excited saying, let me work, let me go and use my strategy, let me go and pick this stock, let me go and put all these strategies, stop loss, book profit. With this, building a community, building a gamified stock market, it worked out amazingly well. Today we have 900 plus business schools and colleges in India who are using StockGrow to teach students, the millennials, the next generation, how to trade and invest. And I go back to our mission. What do we really want to do from here? We actually realize that this is a business that can be taken global because this is not just a problem that we face here in India. It's a problem we face in Asia. It's a problem we face in UAE, in Middle East, in different countries. Because millennials who have come up in this generation, they have not learned how to invest, and that's a lesson that really needs to go out. Everyone, the next generation today, have the right to be financially free, follow what they want to do, follow the mission of their life, and just to enable these guys, just to ensure that this generation is able to follow their dreams, we have taken this mission on ourselves to make them investment ready, to make them financially free. That's what we are doing. Thank you.
So, Mr. Likhotia, I would request you to be here. And meanwhile, let me also invite on stage. Are you waiting for this? Okay. Mr. Pankaj Doval for this conversation. He's the national editor of Times of India. He's a keen observer of public policy and maintains a sharp focus on government, economic plans, and corporate movements. Let's have a warm round of applause for both of them.
Yeah, yeah, it is working. Thank you so much, Ajay, for being here and talking about financial investment. I think whoever whoever makes money wants to do the best out of it, and everybody is nowadays glued on to the markets and the way they are giving returns, but nobody knows how to do it. As you said, that people are still conservative, even though we see a lot of investments flowing into SIPs. But when they look at the stocks and when they hear stories from their friends, they all want to know how. And that is the biggest question that is on the mind of everyone. Uh, but before I begin, let me, talk about Ajay himself, because I was sitting with him and I was chatting with him. And he himself has been, I think, an entrepreneur by heart, because he told me that initially he started with a printing and packaging business way back in 2002. Uh, did well, kind of, later on he had to move out of that. Then he started a startup. He sold it to DS Group. Then he went to learn how to fly a small aircraft in Europe, which is very different. And then he joined Capgemini in UK. And after that, he was working with Temasek as well. And then they started a fund in India with Fosun, the Chinese company. And in 2020, right in the heart of pandemic, he's thought of starting Stock Grow, which in itself talks about his own risk-taking abilities, because that was the time when everybody was looking for safer options rather than doing something of their own and investing the money. And also he had challenges at that point in time when an investor who could have been backing him thought that they'll do that, but after some time. So this man knows a lot about risks and how to overcome them. So first of all, welcome. So tell me, is it really advisable for people to invest in stocks? Because uh, India has been a very conservative market. We are one of the largest consumers of gold and also savers of gold globally. So people say, if not anything, I have my gold with me. This will certainly give me returns, and my stuff is there with me. So I'm not losing out on anything. Why do you invest in a very uncertain kind of a scenario wherein stocks may give you returns and they may also put you into losses?
Pankaj, it's not just about market or just about gold, but any asset class. They will always carry some element of risk. It's not that if you invest in gold or real estate or say any other assets, there'll be a consistent return, except fixed deposit, which will give you a consistent return, but a very low return. From an investment perspective, and this is very surprising, for a country of a size of ours, less than 5% of the total population today actually invests in different asset classes or liquid asset classes.
Working population, you say?
Working population. And that's the surprising part, saying everyone has the education, everyone has the knowledge, everyone understands how different asset classes work, which includes stocks, mutual fund, bonds. But it's a very small percentage of the total population that actually invests. And this gap is not because they are averse to risks. The gap is because the awareness is not there. The understanding, the knowledge of different asset classes, how the investment works, what is the kind of risk that it entails, and how we mitigate that risk. Yeah. That's something which is missing out there.
But tell me something that, at least I always wonder, that money which is lying in your bank account, while you feel that it is my money and it is in my bank account, or maybe some of it could be in FDs and all, is it a good thing, or actually we are losing money?
To be honest, mostly the return that you see on fixed deposits is inflation adjusted. That is, if you could buy a stuff for 100 rupees this year, next year it will cost you 107 rupees. So that 7% interest return that you are seeing is mostly an adjustment for the inflation. You are sometimes actually losing the value of capital rather than increasing the value of your capital.
So broadly, he's saying that any money that we have in our bank accounts and we think we are safe, actually that we're losing money on that, that money lying idle.
So Pankaj, the biggest lacuna out there is when people save money and they keep putting that money in fixed deposit, that is not investing, that is saving your money, but that is not growing your capital. That's not making your money work for you.
Right. So when you thought of Stock Grow, like what were the reasons that you thought this should be done? And you're not a conventional trading platform that people use. So, because everybody gives you advice and there are people advising on television channels or their own channels and all, YouTube channels and all. So what made you go and look into this kind of aspect?
So, Pankaj, there's a lot of excitement around markets, saying, chalo, stocks mein invest karte hain. There's a lot of conversation around markets. But when it actually comes to real investing, this is somewhere where people are not able to take their first step. A lot of people who have learnt investing, they have learnt it at the cost of losing their first few lakh rupees. And a lot of people actually shy away after doing that, saying, yaar, paise kho gaye, wapas nahi jata wahan par. But that is because 99% of the people start their investment journey based on tips from other folks, saying, अरे अजय यहाँ invest कर रहा है, he's a smart guy, वो बोल रहा है तो हम भी यही कर लेते हैं. But this is where the mistake happens because they don't do their own research, and literally there are no platforms who are teaching people step by step how to go and start their investment journey. Everyone's risk appetite is very different. I might be looking for a very high risk investment. Some of the other folks might be looking for a very low risk investment. But there's nothing that tells people this works and this doesn't work. There's no platform today which qualifies any other advisor who's giving you an advice saying, is he a good advisor or a bad advisor? Can you go back and audit his portfolios? Can you go back and see he's doing it right or wrong? I have my friend here, Varun, he is sitting. अगर वरुण मुझे कहते हैं अजय यार ITC में invest करते हैं बहुत अच्छा जा रहा है. But I don't know if Varun is a good investor or not because I have no access to his portfolio. And that's where we started solving this, saying if you can actually go and audit people's portfolios, even if it is a virtual portfolio, it gives you the confidence of him being good or bad, and you can start following him. Yeah. All of these problems unsolved till 4 years back, till we started. But now I think we are on a journey of solving pretty much all of this, from education to experiencing the market to following the right set of folks out there.
So let me explain, in a nutshell, what I could understand from him. How Stock Group functions basically, it's a platform wherein you've got real-time experts, but you are investing. I mean to say, this is not real money. You're giving a corpus of money. You invest, you follow the experts, and you see how much you could have made virtually. And that kind of tells you whether these experts are good or whether you're having a right investment strategy.
Exactly.
Is it like that?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So community-based learning, instead of going and say reading literature, you can follow experts, you can ask them questions, you can look at their investment strategies. You adopt all of them with your virtual cash that we give you on the platform, practice it. And then we also allow you to compete with each other. If you are one of the best portfolios of the day, week, month, we award you, but we also make you the hero of the day on social media platforms, saying Pankaj has done this right, and then you'll start getting followers.
So you can actually test the waters through this kind of a platform.
Bang on.
And,
Yes.
and once you see the kind of returns that you are making, and once you see that which experts, are actually bang on in terms of suggesting investment strategies, you can also look at their portfolios, whether they are making money or not. So I think that's a pretty good way and transparent way of at least judging the, so-called people who are going to teach you.
Yes, yes. Pankaj, because, बीच में क्या हुआ, there were so many people who do not know finance, who do not know numbers, were telling others कि आपको कौन से stocks pick करने चाहिए. There were folks on different media channels who were telling others what stocks to pick. And for me, the question mark was, does he even know what he is talking about? And how do I audit him? How do I figure out how good or bad is he? And that's where we said a platform like ours can become a savior for a lot of users, where they can ask questions. And today this happens. When my friends, when colleagues, when someone would ask a question saying, hey, can I see your stock group portfolio? So the moment someone is doling out tips to other investors saying, jao ye stock khareed lo, now it has become a very common practice, and especially in schools and colleges, saying, show me your stock group portfolio. Can I see what you are doing? And then I'll start following you.
So, what is the kind of profile that is coming on your platform? The age groups, and are there women? Are there people from
Yes.
beyond metros also who are kind of learning from this?
Yes. So Pankaj, majority of our users are in an age group of 18 to 30. Surprisingly, you have almost 40% of user base which is women, and I definitely feel that they are the ones who should really learn how to invest. It's kind of a social system that has been created where generally men in families are the ones who are taking investment calls, but I sincerely feel it should be women. Uh, the kind of money management they do is much better than what we do, and they should also be investing the money.
Yeah.
And that's the reason we encourage them, and 40% of our user base is actually women. Tier 1 is about 20% of our audience. Rest is tier 2, tier 3. And when we talk to them, we realize they have the time, they have the money, but they don't have access. And that's what we are creating for all of these users.
So is it more of Gujarat, or you have people from other states also? Because Gujaratis are known to save the most and invest in markets.
Majority of our population our user base is Rajasthan, Gujarat, Maharashtra, West Bengal, MP, UP.
Yeah. And on your platform, what has been your experience like? Like, do people make money? How much? What percentage of people are making money? Even though this is more of a virtual thing, but based on real market prices, like how much are people earning?
Pankaj, about 20% people building their virtual portfolio, and when you look at the statistics, they lose money.
Yeah.
50% of the people are in those neutral zone of 5 to 10% plus and minus in their portfolios, and 30% are the ones who are really building some of the best performing portfolios, generating anything between 5 to 10% return a month. And these are the guys who are now becoming homegrown influencers, whom rest of the guys are following, saying, "Mujhe nahi aaya, but I can see this guy day on day, week on week, who's really doing it right. I want to start following him."
Yeah. There's one question that I wanted to ask from you, that between SIPs and stocks, there's always this confusion that okay, in SIPs, all my risk taking will be done by the fund manager. I am safe. I can see their returns. In stocks, the risk could be much better, but then you have to take a decision yourself. What do you guys recommend? Should people go more towards SIPs? We see 14,000, 15,000 crore of funds going to SIPs every month. Do you think that is a better way? Do you think investing in stocks is the better way?
SIP is where you start averaging. That is, you don't apply your brains. You're like, मैंने पैसे डाल दिए, someone else is managing.
Yeah.
If the stock goes, it might be the same stock that you would have picked otherwise.
Yeah.
All that is happening out there is the same portfolio is being bought at a lower price also and at a higher price also.
Yeah.
आपके जो returns है वो average out हो जाएंगे पंकज, because you'll not get the kind of returns when you do your own research and start investing. And I'll ask you a question. When you're doing SIPs or when you're investing in mutual funds, do you know the manager who's managing your money?
Not at all.
Do you know his portfolio? Do you know his track record?
See, generally disclosures are made, but to be honest, I don't go through them, that I'm not investing in the kind of companies that they are.
Right, but this is your hard-earned money. You are giving it to someone else to manage, but आपको पता भी नहीं है कि वो कौन है.
So, I'm coming back to my original question. Do you think that SIPs are better, or direct investments into stocks are better? Informed decisions.
Yeah, SIP is a passive investment where you will always know that the return is going to be lower, but someone else is managing it at a very stable way of investing that money. Stocks, when you are doing this, if you take the right informed decision and every time you're putting your stop losses in place, your chances of making more returns is always very high.
Okay. So informed decisions will help you, obviously. And since you said that 20% of your users are coming from tier 1, rest are coming beyond tier 1 and all.
Correct.
What is the role of platforms like yours? Because we know that 850 million people are online on phones, through their phones. What is the platform like you, in terms of getting people to invest? What kind of a role do you play in that?
See, Pankaj, almost all the tech businesses, including ourselves, we are all riding on a wave of smartphones and internet, which has been provided, I think, by a lot of these large businesses across India, very well regulated from a pricing perspective. So what all of us are riding is a wave of internet which has gone out in the hands of every person out there. हमें क्या मिला है? We have found a method of distribution. You can't put banking system in rural areas. You can't put banking system in every district out there, every village out there. But there's a smartphone in everyone's hand. And it has created the reach for businesses like us, for us to be able to reach every corner of the country where a user has a phone, he is on social media and we can tell him, hey, a product like this exists for you. Yes.
No, we'll take questions. We'll take questions.
Sure.
There's a mic you can use.
Sorry. Look, my question was, sorry to interrupt you, I need to leave. My name's Rashina Kumari. I'm from the UK. Me and Mr. Ajay met briefly this morning. Thank you for the invitation. But before I leave, I have a pressing...
You have to speak in the mic, please.
I have a pressing question, okay? So, look, I'm not here really officially representing the UK, but we are an education organisation involved in finance. We do a lot of work with the UK government, the international governments, Libya, the MENA region, and a lot of work with India. What I'm interested in knowing is that, look, stock growth speaks for itself. I'm new to it. But how do you verify and keep your consumers, your users safe? How do you verify the quality of your educators? You've grown so much. So if I want to be saying to my son, hey, Ruben, I met this chap in India, how do I know it's safe that your people who are educating my son,
Perfect.
it's a good place?
So
The experts that you've onboarded, basically.
bang on. So two ways to look at this. One, most of the experts who come on board, they are registered investment advisors and they have a certification from the government, from the regulators. On the other part of it, say influencers, educators who have come on board who do not have a license but still want to talk about it, teach about it, a natural selection happens when people start listening to them and following them, just the way it happens on any other social platform. People whose education material, what they are teaching is good, then there'll be more and more and more people who will start following them, and they'll also go back and talk to the rest of the users saying this was useful, I learned this and I've made money from this. On the other side, if they're really good in what they are teaching, their portfolios will speak for themselves, and those portfolios are visible and auditable by users who come on board.
But, we've seen that, time and again, the regulator has also raised concerns about some of the financial influencers also, whether they are doing the right job or, whether they're trying to just, sway the investors in a particular direction. How do you keep a check on that? Because ordinary investors are coming to you for learning, and sometimes they may be swayed by some of these guys recommending something which they're doing for different purposes.
Pankaj, so two ways to solve for this, and that's the reason I think what we do is to some extent solving this problem. One, if there's an influencer who's telling people to invest in a specific stock, can users come back and see if the influencer himself is good enough at picking stocks and building a portfolio and generating return? One.
Yeah.
Second, on StockGrow, we only allow the top 500 stocks to be simulated, which people can actually build a portfolio with, which basically helps people not getting swayed into small cap, mid cap stocks where there's a possibility, remote possibility of price manipulation. Top 500 stocks, the market cap of these stocks is so big, you can't go and manipulate them.
So broadly, there is a kind of a transparency and also
Huge.
disclosures to some
Disclosures, transparency, guidance, saying, hey, you're a new user. We want you to learn and make money, not to lose money. And these are perhaps those pitfalls which you should be careful of.
Right. And how does the regulator look at you guys? Because, as you said that there are roughly 35 million visitors who are coming on your website, on your platform, and 10 million are kind of, subscribers, paid subscribers. How does the regulator look at you guys? Does it look at it with suspicion, or does it see you as enablers to to make people invest into stocks and other kind of instruments?
It's one of those education platforms which is dedicatedly building content, which is dedicatedly building that community for people to actually learn how to trade and invest, and not just stocks, multiple asset classes. And what has happened very recently is what we are doing in India is something which has been picked up by some of the exchanges globally, and they invited us, saying what you are doing in India is you are growing the market. Millennials who are sitting on the sidelines who do not trade and invest, you are helping them learn and get into the markets over a period of time. Can you do the same thing for us? And that's the reason we are now invited by exchanges in Middle East. We have signed up MOUs with them, and we'll be launching Stockgrow in Middle East very soon.
And from the policy perspective, do you think there are areas by which the the government or the regulator can actually enable a more healthy conversation with you guys, and other areas where you think you need more policy support?
Pankaj, it's an amazing thought, and because I work very closely with some of the institutes like FICCI, IMI, where I've seen that government, before building policies, before putting policies out there, it's a very consultative approach. We get the papers, they would ask us questions saying, does this work, does this not work? So the way of building policies has transformed significantly.
Yeah.
RBI and SEBI, and I've observed this in last 10 years of my career, they're some of the most robust regulators globally who have protected the country in so many ways. Can more be done out there? Yes, because just talking about financial literacy is not going to work. There has to be a little more action. There's a lot of conversation around this. There's a lot of money that government actually puts out there.
Yeah.
Can that be put in action through platforms like us? Yes, and there are many more education platforms which can keep doing this. And I think that's where we need a little more dialogue with the government, with the regulators, to help build this whole financial literacy platform across India.
Right. And lastly, wanted to understand from you that do you invest in stocks, or is your money safe in FDs and gold or bank?
No.
I'm not asking about your portfolio, but generally.
I do invest both in stocks and in futures and options. Right, so I do a lot of derivative trading.
Fantastic. So he's available free of cost. Right now, you don't have to become a subscriber. Any questions on stocks, investing in stocks, or any clarifications that you require, please feel free to ask if there are any. And when you ask, please, no comments, ask a question. Please identify yourself as well. Please, that lady, if the mic can be given to her.
Hi, I'm Anisha. My question is, you give virtual money to people to create a portfolio. Does risk-taking behavior change when it comes to real money? I don't mind sitting on a pile of virtual losses, right? But real money is different.
Yes.
Pretty good question.
Yes,
actually.
it does, right? So with virtual money, you can take a little more risk. But because it's a social platform, what also happens is you don't want to look bad in front of other guys. So when you're investing and we are tracking your risk, so from a technical term perspective, skewness, kurtosis, so we track all of this on your portfolio. You might be learning with a little more risk with virtual money. When it comes to real money, you will take little less risk. But if you have learned how to manage your risk over a period of time, it's very unlikely that your virtual portfolio and real portfolio would look very different. In fact, it's just the other way around. People get greedy when it comes to real market, and they don't want to miss an opportunity to invest. They put in more money and they don't put, say, a stop loss or book profit, any of these things. If you have practiced and you have inculcated this behavior, the returns in your virtual and real portfolio would pretty much be the same.
Right. Anyone else wants to know? Yeah, the lady. It's so good to see ladies asking questions. So 3 ladies have asked.
Yes.
It's a nice thing. Please.
Good
Identify
afternoon.
yourself, please. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. I am Simran Aswani. I am a wealth manager at IIFL Securities.
Wealth manager.
Yes,
Okay.
at IIFL Securities. And we do have a lot of portfolios for our clients, and we manage them. And the intentions and the thrill they get, even the risk-averse clients, is very different when they are using their real money and when they are playing virtually. Also, my question is, there are a lot of other apps by Dalal Street, Zerodha, and stock simulator games that provide the same platform which you are giving by Stockgrow. can you just tell how that is different and how the learnings can also be equally same when you are using real money?
Okay. From a virtual platform perspective, can people build similar platforms? Yes. I think it's the user journey and experience which is very different on StockGrow. The whole community of users, traders, investors, enthusiasts, educators, what has come together to actually help people learn, trade, communicate, interact, that whole experience is relatively different from what you would have probably seen in other places. Come back to your first part of the question. The thrill. Yeah, the thrill and excitement, I wouldn't demarcate it. Because in the real market, the adrenaline rush that you get when you are trading, on StockGrow, we allow people to compete. There are 800, 900 business schools, colleges who compete with each other. It perhaps gives them a little more thrill and a little more bragging right when they do something like this.
Sir, but don't you think when real money is involved, people tend to be more
Cautious.
more cautious and attentive towards their stop losses, towards the market movement, and they tend to be more calculative. The people behavior can be lousy when the real money is not
So maybe
involved.
people enjoy a game of Monopoly on your platform. They're trading with that virtual money. But when it comes to real money, they'll say, yeah, I don't want to take risk and it's better. I can see my money where it is in my bank or wherever they are putting it, but not in stocks.
I'll explain you. There are two outcomes for people who are on StockGrow. In 6 to 9 months, either they would have learned how to invest and they start their investment journey after that, or they would have figured out that this is not for me, I can't invest, but I have discovered these 6-7 people in my social investment circle on StockGrow who know how to trade and invest, and I'll start following them. And this is how I'll grow my money.
Right. Anyone else? Last question. Well, finally, we have Guy as well asking. Please.
Hello, this is Mohammad Izhar from National Stock Exchange. So I have a question for you that you said that you have people who are giving advices or sharing their experiences on the platform. But my question is to you from part of NSE that how you manage that all those who are giving advices are the SEBI registered advisors or they are normal people as well? Because there are instances of tailgating and pump and dump a lot into the market that people used to give advices on the WhatsApp and on the YouTube channels, and first they take a call, then they give the advices, and then they quit from that position. So my question is for you that are all the people who are giving advices are SEBI registered or not, and how you manage it?
Yes. So all the people who are giving investment advice or suggesting what kind of stocks can be picked or what kind of index trades can be done, these are all SEBI registered advisors. If you don't have a license, you will not be able to build a chat group or say a feed out there on StockGrow on which you can start sharing advice. On the other side, can people have their own, just like WhatsApp, have their own chat groups in which they can discuss trades and investments? Yes, they can do it. But these are private chat groups between friends and colleagues. This is not something that gets exhibited out there, which others can go and join.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Ajay, for the interesting conversation. I think money should not be idling around. Should be earning more money for you, but in a safe and informed manner. Maybe we can talk after the session. And so thanks for doing this and for the financial literacy that you're doing.
Thank
you so
Pankaj.
much.
Thank
A
you
big
for
round of
having me
applause.
here.
Thank you.
Thanks again for the very insightful conversation there. Thank you, Mr. Lakhotia and Mr. Doval. And now moving on to our first panel for the day, ladies and gentlemen, which is going to be talking about digital transformation in banking and finance, driving financial inclusion. Now, this panel will touch upon digital payment innovations and challenges, access to banking services through technology, and how the government is promoting digital financial literacy. Let's call upon our panelists on stage. We have Sushant Rabra, Partner Digital Advisory, KPMG. Please put your hands together for Mr. Sushant. We have Jitin Sehgal next, Partner Consulting, Deloitte, India. We have Umanath Mishra, Director, CRISIL Limited, and Rajiv Kumar Gupta, President, PB Fintech Limited. And it will be chaired by Anisha Nair Thavan. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the lovely panel.
I hope you can hear me because I'm not too sure I'm on stage. Oh yes, you can hear me. So I'd like to welcome all the speakers on this panel. It is great to have all of you here with us. We are seeing in our country digital public goods having a huge impact on lives of the public, and we have seen the UPI platform and digital identity completely transform how banking and financial services are rendered in our country. But does this lead to financial inclusion? Does this mean that the last man standing in the rural India gets financial products, banking services? Are they using this even if they have a platform ready? So this is what we are going to try and discuss in this session. I'm going to start with Sushant and ask him. So the Jamstack has made digital payments very easy, and the amount of transactions that are happening is phenomenal. But is payments inclusion? What do we do beyond payments?
Am I audible? Perfect. So I think you are absolutely right. We have had excellent success from the payment perspective. In fact, if you see payment cost as a percentage of GDP, over the last 7 years, it has significantly fallen in India. We are now at about approximately 0.8%. China is half of that, so of course, we have some way to catch up. But overall, we have seen a lot of success in rolling out payment and basic access. For example, even through Jan Aadhaar, Yojana. So from their perspective, you see there is a lot of access that is provided by the government from a financial inclusion perspective. But if you look at even RBI's own report on financial inclusion, you would notice that there are a few factors which sort of stand out. So one is access is going great, so no issues around that. But if you look at themes around quality, theme around adoption, that's where we are seeing a lot of challenge. So there are approximately 30% plus Jan Dhan Yojana accounts which did not see too much transactions. There were about 31% people who were still borrowing from friends and family, right? And so on. So the list is long. So essentially speaking, the usage part of what has been set out as a basic infrastructure isn't there yet, and we need to work upon that. So that's one. The second theme from an inclusion perspective I want to highlight is that there are themes around, for example, customer protection, right? And we have seen those reports in the newspaper every day in terms of cyber frauds, issues, and so on. So if you look at the common man on the street, he's concerned about that. And some of them don't have that financial acumen or understanding to deal with it. So those are the issues which sort of need to be addressed upon. But I don't want to take away from what India has achieved, and that is absolutely outstanding. For us to have, going by which report you read, 75% plus, 90% plus penetration, that is absolutely outstanding. And I would say that this infrastructure actually sets the stage for financial inclusion. What we now need to do is move from infrastructure to service.
Right, but you know, you said financial fraud, that's such a deterrent. Financial fraud से तो ज़्यादा हम वो cooperative bank scam सुनते हैं कि वो बैंक ही बंद हो गया, लोगों की savings ही चली गई. अब that is not a deterrent for people to still go open an account in a, you know, in a cooperative bank. You need good regulation, and I'm sure confidence will come in the digital platforms there as well. But Jitin, what Sushant said, you open accounts, so many Jan Dhan accounts, and nobody uses it. So what does this show? Does this show a real change in behavior? Because in urban India, it's going great. There are lots of payments happening. People have that comfort. In rural India, will the comfort only come from the brick and mortar? Because banking is about trust. You want to see somebody. Is that a reason why we are not seeing transactions happening in these Jan Dhan accounts? And what will it take to change this behavior? You can take the mic.
Sure, thank you. So I think the split is changing. So if you see the UPI transactions earlier, they were more person to person. Now there is a move we are seeing from person to person to person to merchant as well. And that's happening because of the infrastructure which is growing in the rural areas as well. So we see a lot of QR codes being deployed in rural areas, and people are getting familiar in terms of using those. And there are initiatives which are happening across the board from regulators, from payments operator like NPCI, which are making it easier for people to do digital transactions. NPCI has come up with UPI 123, which is through which you can basically use even feature phones to do real-time transactions. They've got tap and pay. They've got multiple innovations happening. But what is interesting is the people for which this is happening still need to start accepting it and feeling it, and that's where the assisted model comes in. And we saw a great example in India Post Payments work, which is one of the best case studies when it comes to financial literacy at scale, where Department of Post actually converted over 3 lakh postmen to start providing banking services. And they were issued micro ATMs, biometric devices. They went into all the rural areas where you don't have reach otherwise, but it's a saying, right? Koi bhi nahi aayega, but postman aayega, right? So postmen can go there. They're going to the doorstep, making people do transactions. We saw a lot of benefit during COVID when there was no visibility or mobility, and postmen and Department of Post and India Post actually disbursed over 20,000 crores at doorstep. So once people get familiar with using technology in an assisted mode, like India Post does through assisted UPI, then adoption will increase.
So if I may interrupt, Jitin, you're saying financial inclusion just by digital transformation is not going to happen. You need a face, you need a person, even if it's a postman.
For some specific sections, yes, because because of the nature of people in that geography, demographics, they may not be familiar with using smartphones. So if somebody can assist them, like the postman did in India Post, that will help with a lot of adoption.
Jitin, one more question. If I do transactions digitally, even if they're payments, even if I've received a direct benefit transfer, will that ever help me in getting credit? Will transactional records ever make me eligible for credit?
No, that's a great question. So, we've all been talking about payments, but we also know that India is credit starved. A lot of individuals and SMEs don't have formal access to credit, and they basically look at informal channels to get credit. So what's happening on the back of UPI, an excellent product has been launched, which is called as UPI on credit, which can be a game changer. So if you look at the credit value chain, there are 3 key aspects. You've got the acquisition, you've got the credit underwriting, and you've got collections, right? Till the time you solve for all these 3, you cannot typically offer credit. So in this instance, using UPI, if you are eligible to get a credit, your acquisition channel is solved. You're bringing a lot of people who use UPI today into the formal credit network. From an underwriting perspective, because these people do not have credit history, so it's difficult to underwrite those people and give loans. So NPCI is actually working on what is called as a digital payment score, which will look at the transaction data people are using for UPI and pass it on to banks to do credit underwriting. So that solves for the underwriting problem. And third is collections, where the ecosystem will have to come together, because we don't want an instance where in a remote area, use a mobile phone, use UPI, I take a credit and I just abscond. There's no way to recover that. So there has to be a way for us to identify or the ecosystem to identify such players and inculcate habits so that they actually do fair when it comes to credit and they repay. So collections is going to be important.
And risk assessment as well. Banks don't want to be loaded with more trouble than they already have. So we've already discussed about, the supply side. We got so many platforms. We got even private banks offering digital services. I want to come to Umakant and find out what's happening on the demand side. सब इतने सारे हमारे देश में माई बाप हैं, सरकार ने जनधन दे दिया, प्राइवेट बैंक अकाउंट भी डिजिटली आपको बॉट से बात करवा देते हैं, पर किसको चाहिए ये? लोग ले रहे हैं, कुछ कर रहे हैं, डिमांड साइड से क्या हो रहा है?
So, financial inclusion from digital transformation perspective, when we talk about especially the rural, at the rural side, I see this entire journey as scaling Mount Everest. And we have reached at the base camp, which is yet a great achievement, because base camp itself is almost 60% of the journey. But I see that 40% of the journey, especially from the demand side perspective, is still awaited. Because if we couple of indicators, if we see that the cash to GDP ratio, which is growing up in last 5 to 6 years from 8 to 11, around 11 or 13% it has grown. If we look microfinance, especially the JLG business, with a 60 million customer base, very large portfolio in Indian context, the Grameen model. So if we look at the disbursement side, thanks to the Jandan Jam Trinity, Jandan Mobile and Aadhaar, but if you look at the collection side, the disbursement is 100%, but the collection is still, if you leave the assisted model, which is through BC model, it is still around 10%. So it itself, speaks a volume that the adoption of the technology is still less on the rural side. Then there are other reasons that the triple digital divide that exists in the rural area on account of the gender, between the two genders you see the divide, then on account of the income levels, the low income, high income, and also the rural urban. So these triple digital divide is also, kind of creating, innovations, the progress of the digital progress in terms of financial inclusion. Now, again, but there are, what we call the silver lining that we see, that on the demand side, earlier the question was, who will build the cat in terms of, bringing the awareness or spreading awareness, because that's a cost. So now the regulator has taken a big step. If you are aware that the digital, the Depositor Education Awareness Fund has been, created a big program called Center for Financial Literacies. So CRISIL is implementing that project with around 615 plus centers. There are other partners also of RBI, but CRISIL is one of the largest partners. So in 18 states, there are 615 centers which is spreading awareness. But from our own experience, we partnered with RBI as a part of public-private partnership. But before that, we experimented a project, Mai Pragati, where we tried to create intermediaries which will not only spread awareness, but also, kind of create a logical bridge or link between the supply side institutions as BCs and the last mile. So because
who are these intermediaries and why must I trust these intermediaries?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, so these intermediaries are basically the women from the local communities.
They're known people.
Yeah, so they are known people, and because of which, basically if you talk about the adoption, digital adoption, the trust deficit, aside the knowledge side or the awareness, the trust deficit is very, that's creating the gap actually. So if there is a community, a women from the community, and they are constantly in touch, so sharing their problems, and also it's a constant source of information for them. So they are acting as, and we have, basic criteria for the selection of these Sakhis. They are matriculate. They have the, they can operate smartphones, and also they are able to, they don't have the mobility issues. So they can create that, bridge those gaps that, and also in real sense, the doorstep services. Because even if you talk about BC points that 5 kilometers away, still it is not convenient for many people. So in order to address those aspects, this Sakhi is creating, awareness as well as those service last mile gaps. So this is how it is working.
That's great. Somebody known to you taking you to a service provider, you will perhaps have more confidence to go ahead and do that transaction. Rajiv ji, we've heard a lot about digital public goods, etc., and how they make a lot of possibilities come true. But some data still shows that at the start of 2023, about half the population of our country had they were not using the internet. Nearly 77% have either a feature phone or a smartphone, but half of our country does not even have access to the internet. So beyond plain deposits or payments, how do they come to know of other financial products, say insurance? That is also important. How will they come to know about this if they don't even have access to the internet?
So Anisha, I think you're absolutely right. If you look at Policy Bazaar and Paisa Bazaar, the two companies which we run, both have made big inroads as far as insurance penetration is concerned and also lending penetration is concerned. But when we look at our own data, we realize that of the 140 crore population, 100 crore is still untouched. In the sense, when I say untouched, we've just scratched the surface there, right? So the immediate solution would be, we have done a great job in terms of creating the necessary visibility. We spend close to 400 crores every year in creating visibility on why insurance is important. But is that enough? My answer is no. I think so. That is why we have in the last 2 years created a phygital model as far as reaching out to tier 2, tier 3 cities. We have representatives now in almost 97% of Indian PIN codes. They are called the POSPs, the point of sales agents. And so they are present in those localities promoting education. First of all, people need to understand why insurance is important. To somebody living in tier 2, tier 3, insurance is not a priority. Tier 1 also there's a big challenge, but tier 2, tier 3 is the biggest challenge, right? When somebody is told to buy health insurance, he doesn't understand what good will it do to the consumer. Number two, the products which you sell here cannot be affordable, for consumers living in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So the challenge is multiple. One is, how do we design low-cost products? How can POSPs located in that locality help us reduce distribution cost? But all transactions are done through digital. So which means they all have the mobile phones. You're right, internet is a challenge. But the internet is today probably the cheapest in this country, right? And we want to ensure all transactions are completed through internet. So what we are trying to do is we are encouraging these people to engage with local communities there, local influential people there, organize programs on telling them what is health insurance. Why does more than 60% of the expenses on the healthcare today come from your own savings? And what does it do to you by throwing you back into poverty line, and government spends crores of rupees to bring you back above, So what can a simple insurance do? I can start with somebody working in my house. If I tell him, do you have a health insurance? He says, no. So first thing I did is I bought a health insurance for him. So he said, nahi, mere paas wo card hai, jo government ka card hai. So he's aware about the card. But we said, why this will do good to you? Because tomorrow, one small hospitalization, 50,000 rupees, you earn that much in 3 months and you lose all that money together. So promoting, education in these places is very important. Number two, building trust. The biggest problem in insurance today is it's not something which you go and ask for insurance, right? You have to go and sell. So when you sell insurance, people think, jab mere ko claim chahiye hoga to milega nahi. The trust deficit is the biggest problem. The trust deficit is there across board, but it's far more severe in smaller towns. So what we're trying to do is show them, records on how we have helped so many people get their claims when the money was required, so that their own savings don't get disturbed. Similarly, at Paisa Bazaar, we have gone ahead and launched products where even if somebody doesn't have a credit track record, he is encouraged to avail, some credit facilities like a credit card or a loan. For example, on the credit card side, we have launched a product which says that you deposit, say 25,000, and we give you a credit card which will give you a limit of 25,000. I'm just giving an example, right? Now, what happens is once he builds a track record, then he doesn't need to give a deposit any further. Similarly, loans today are available to consumers. I know of so many people who borrow money at 40%, 45%, even in tier 2, tier 3 cities even today. which is why you have seen mushrooming of a lot of small NBFCs, which have brought down the rates to 32%. But Paisa Bazaar is trying to push this to bring them back to say 22% IRR, where people can borrow money at a lower rate by simply understanding why, taking money from a recognized company which offers you a platform where you can take loans from commercial banks or private sector banks, which will help. I think at the end, working with the government, looking at educating this community, looking at launching the right products, partnering with both principals, insurers, bankers, and the government to have those products in place is the key solution in the long term.
Right. I think we have very little time. So I'm going to take one-line answer from all of you. What I've understood is just, this jam is not going to make financial inclusion jam. आपका +1 क्या है, राजीव जी? Jam के साथ +1 क्या है? Is it you need education? Do you need a man on the street? Do you need new products? What is your +1 for financial inclusion to happen along with jam?
I think, in my opinion, having one person working constantly with the local community there and working only on education without an objective of selling, I think will create that necessary market for all of us.
Shishant, what's your +1? He said it should be somebody who's only educating without any business interest. What's your +1?
My +1 is, again, building awareness and that intelligence. Indians are actually quite smart in picking up things, right? And we have demonstrated that. You only need to give them opportunities to exploit that. So it could be through education, and the RBI initiative, as you spoke about, is actually doing wonders over there. But innovation at the grassroots, which can create value for the last man in the queue, will be absolutely useful, and there are tons of startups doing that.
Great. Jitin, what's your +1?
I think for me, the +1 is more usage. So once you get tuned to using, say, doing a payment transaction, then how do you, +1 and do another product, like take a credit or a life insurance for that matter?
For me, it's awareness to behavior change is a journey, and I think we have to stay invested in it.
Thank you so much for this discussion. We'll open the house for some questions. If any of you have questions, please raise your hand, identify yourself, the speaker to whom you're asking the question, and go ahead and ask your question. So I think all questions have been addressed. Thank you to all of you for joining in this discussion and giving us your views. Okay, we have one question coming through.
If we are talking about inclusion in particular, the awareness only through, medias like TV and radio will not help. I think somewhere, I'm not sure how many people use social media very effectively, in these cities. So it's important that you create simplistic, forms of explaining what is borrowing and what does it mean. What should you look at before borrowing, your money? What should you look at before buying an insurance plan? So that can only happen if there is somebody knowledgeable present there, and who can work with the influential people of that village or that taluka, and collect, people in groups and explain them what they should do before buying an insurance or a lending platform.
I would just second that. See, essentially, there's a trust transfer that needs to happen. And we have done that before. For example, the vaccination program that India ran in last 30 years. So there was a trust transfer that happened. The same way, we need to, first of all, disintermediate this entire communication. It has to spread out to the last point of presence. Second, there needs to be a trust transfer, and therefore, the community leaders need to be involved as well.
I think I'll just say, share the stories. Social media is known for sharing the stories. Share the success stories. Let the people who are actually benefiting come and share their experiences. And that's how we'll build trust in everything.
Yeah, I'll share my experience from CRISIL that we have created a graduation approach where, it starts with the stage 1 of financial literacy we call My Pragati platform. It's a digital approach, And there is a second platform that we have created is Gram Shakti platform. So where from basic financial literacy to awareness of business literacy and all that graduates. So it's a journey like 1.5 year, 2 years of program where starts from My Pragati, then goes to Gram Shakti. So it's a layered approach.
But Umakant, you're working with the RBI, right?
No, I'm working with CRISIL.
CRISIL,
Yeah.
your platform for knowledge sharing is in association with the RBI, right?
RBI program is different. That's a non-CSR program. We are one of the largest collaborators with RBI.
The
And
buck
but
stops
we have
there,
a
right?
we have a CSR
That
program
is the most
also.
trustworthy source,
Yeah,
right? So
correct.
trust is also important,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's most crucial, I would say.
Right. I would like to thank all our speakers on stage for this discussion. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Very insightful conversation indeed. And Anisha, I would request you to stay back here, and meanwhile they can set up the stage. Okay, now we all know that a very well-designed policy framework is essential for creating an enabling environment that promotes financial inclusion, fosters innovation, encourages financial literacy, and promotes equitable access to financial services for all segments of society. Let's go to our second panel for today, and we'll be talking about policy frameworks for financial inclusion, bridging the gap. Bear with us while we just set up the stage for a few seconds more. So let me invite my speakers for this panel. We have Dr. Prabhakar Sahu, Senior Lead Economics and Finance Cell from Niti Aayog. Dr. Prabhakar Sahu, yeah. Then we have Charu Pragya, National Spokesperson, BJP, and a lawyer. We have Chetna Gala Sinha, Founder and Chairperson, Man Deshi Mahila Sehkari Bank and co-chair World Economic Forum 2018. And we have Praveen Trivedi, Executive Director, IFSCA. Over to you, Anisha.
Thank you. Our speakers from the previous panel also underscored the great role being played by the regulators, because that really inspires confidence amongst all people that regulators will have their back should something go wrong, especially in the digital world, where there was also a mention of cyber fraud that seems to be a deterrent for some people at least using digital modes to transact, especially in banking and finance. But beyond, what the regulations are saying, we are seeing technology moving ahead of anything else we do. Whatever we are doing seems to be very reactionary. So, Mr. Sahu, I wanted to ask you, what is the role of regulation when technology is moving so fast? We recently had the RBI take action against the Paytm payment banks. Plus, there are so many of these reports of people who are being conned by these loan sharks because it was so easy to take a loan, a personal loan without any collateral by just a few clicks. And now they're in a trap where they're being chased by collectors. So while regulation is there, but it seems to be a step behind technology and how it moves. So are regulations in our country reactionary and not proactive?
Thank you so much. Before I start, I think I would like to kind of thank the organizers for having such an important topic to discuss. I'm from academic background, though I work with the government. So let me start with something that all the countries, those who have experienced kind of growth and also more importantly, equitable growth, they had higher financial inclusion. Accessibility to financial institutions and also the financial instruments, it leads to savings, investment, and also, the last mile delivery ensures the equity, whether it is entrepreneurship, the women, the vulnerable people. So in this context, this is, I think, one of the most important topics today we should debate, and I'm happy that we are debating it. Now, coming back to the question, most of the financial crises that all the countries they have gone through or they experienced, whether it is for extreme financial innovation, which led to collapse of house bubble in US in 2007, or the East Asian financial crisis, where the kind of agents, the financial institutions, they are allowed to take offshore funding and then lend or expand the lending like anything, because they had what you call fixed exchange rate and higher interest rate. But then there was panic, they could not kind of maintain the competitiveness, that led to crisis. In that context, if you see all the crises, India has been least affected. It is because of the strong regulatory mechanisms we have. RBI and SEBI, they are doing an extremely, I think, important job. And why we have succeeded? Because the step-wise approach, the due diligence, I think are extremely well placed when it comes to Indian financial sector. Now, what happens is the financial inclusions, that's, mushrooming of fintech companies, the UPI, and also the rightly pointed out about this lending apps. So there is a confusion now about this dynamic or very innovative sector as well as the stability. The regulation is all about ensuring consumer safety. The regulation is all about the financial sector stability. I think our financial regulators, they are doing an extremely important job. RBI report very recently brought out that there are 1,100 lending apps. Those who have this practice of predatory lending, exploitative, the rate of interest is very high. And these people, those who are not financially very educated, they get trapped into that. So in this context, I think we have been doing very well. And let me not talk about that financial inclusion that we have achieved. I think it's astonishingly high. This last 10 years, what we have done, very recently, almost 2 years back, IMF has brought out a report which just mentioned that, India has achieved something in 6 to 7 years, which would have taken 47 years. We have improved the number. The number is like a number of people having or owning an account at a financial institutions, and also having kind of, moving services or mobile services. It has increased from 2014, almost like 54% to 78%. That is comparable with China, Malaysia, and most of these countries, those who have achieved. So we are doing two things right. The most transformative impact which has created, that is Jan Dhan Yojana. And the numbers are so right. 51 crore accounts, and out of that, almost like 55% are by women, and also 66% to the, kind of backward classes, to BC, SC, ST. So that way, this Prime Minister's Jan Dhan Yojana has created or reached out to the people, those who are not part of the formal financing system. When you talk about the financial inclusion, it's all about that people have access to formal financial institutions and also financial instruments. Though we have improved a lot, whether you talk about Mudra or credit to agriculture, credit to MSME, we have expanded quite rightly and without any big disruptions to the systems because of the strong regulatory framework we have. So I think we are making a good balance between the innovations as well as financial inclusion as well as regulation.
Right. I'd like to come to Trivedi ji. sir, आप तो regulator ही हैं. So, and as a regulator, sir, you have many roles here. Even you know, you have so many members from boards of RBI, SEBI, everybody. So, does financial literacy also come under the purview of the regulator? And is that more trustworthy because it's coming from a regulator?
Good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much. And before I start, I want to thank Dr. Sahu also because he has also patted SEBI and RBI in its efforts. So my background is I am basically a lawyer by profession, and then I joined SEBI and I worked in SEBI in 22 years, then in Ministry of Finance. I worked on the IBC and then I went to P of RDA, which is the pension sector regulator. Now I am with IFSCA, which is in Gift City. He's 4-in-1 regulator. So you can call me as a career regulator. So as far as SEBI is concerned, I would go on that. You said whether it is a mandate. Yes, it is a mandate. Because SEBI's objective says it is established for the protection of the interest of investor, development of the securities market, and regulation of the securities market. So first and foremost, mandate is protection of the interest of investor. And we have learned our lessons in 92 and 91 when all those scams happened and SEBI was not there. That is why SEBI was established. And overall, I would say, because now I am out of SEBI, so I can say that overall SEBI's record has been very good. And SEBI has, first thing what SEBI has done is, SEBI has introduced the, as we call it,
the investor
disclosure-based regime.
And they have the investor education program
yes.
also.
So disclosure-based regime means that you have to disclose everything in your offer document and then you raise the money. So what disclosure should be fair and you should not mislead anybody. How to invest in that? SEBI has launched many schemes, including the financial literacy programs along with the government, along with the other financial institutions and CA Institute and other institutes also. SEBI has also appointed those resource persons. So those people are doing, every district they are trying to cover and they are telling how to invest. And I think this was covered in the earlier session also. Saving is different than the investment. And if you keep money in your home, that is not going to help you at all. Somebody told about FDs. FDs are, so we don't, in the literacy program also, we don't say that where you have to invest, but we give you the avenues and depending upon your risk appetite, one is supposed to invest. Like in the, for example, at the initial stage, if you are not having a lot of money and don't want to take much risk, you can start with the mutual fund because there are some expert is sitting and who will take decision on your behalf and there will be a pool of money and this return may not be that good, but at least you will not lose that way which you could have lost if you would have invested. Similarly, P of RDA has also engaged some agencies and they are doing the literacy program for the people. Because this government sector, NPS is quite prevalent and this thing, but private sector it is yet to pick up. But because financial literacy, this is as a India, you know, this is a welfare state. So it is our duty, government's duty, to not only make them financially literate, but their investment and their old age security should also be taken care of. That is why this pension NPS has been introduced. People take it like as if it is only for 50,000 income tax, this thing. But it is not the case. This is a very good product and this will certainly protect you. Like Atal Pension Yojana was introduced by the government. So this is for the masses. But the salaried class people, they must, if they are not working in the government sector, but they must join this NPS. Similarly, this IRDAI, somebody was referring to insurance. Though trust deficit may be, I think, policy wajah. So trust deficit is the cause of concern. But I think of late IRDAI is taking a lot of steps and some new scheme has been launched. What is that name? Some new chairman has launched some scheme. So that is going to be very popular.
But sir, there was a lot of mis-selling in insurance
yes,
also.
Yes, it is. I admit. That is what I am saying, that trust deficit is a cause of concern. And no regulator, no government can totally remove all these things. We can only take the efforts. And because as a regulator, you should understand that our role is also not only to regulate but to development also. So if we give more focus on policing only, then development will not happen. So we have to allow the products to come in the market with some oversight. And these things will keep, and we will learn, we have learned lessons from the past mistakes, and we have improved. And I can say, because I have worked in, now I am insurance head in IFSCA, so I can say that securities market, pension market, and insurance, banking also, because I am from the legal background, all those circulars and guidelines are being, or regulations are being drafted by me. I think a lot of work has been done, and as compared to other jurisdictions, India has done quite well in that.
Right. Cheta ma'am sir said कि सिर्फ policing थोड़ा करेंगे, development भी तो करनी है. That's also important. But do you think the regulators have their ear to the ground, if perhaps not keeping up with the pace of technology change? But do you have your ear to the ground? Because the terms for banking correspondence, where the previous panelist also spoke कि +1 के बगैर तो ये digital transformation से कुछ नहीं होगा, लोग चाहिए, people चाहिए trust के लिए, पर आप वो क्यों करें banking correspondent को? There are so many restrictions. You may only represent one bank, you may only represent sell one service. Do you think the regulators have their ear on the ground? What happened with white label ATMs? They're shutting down. The commissions don't work. So in this inflationary environment, the regulator also needs to be abreast of technology and what's happening on the ground. Do you agree?
So let me say that there's a lot of discussion going on, and there is a lot of achievement we have seen in this country, as Mr. Shahu, you mentioned about Jandan, or Mr. Trivedi, you mentioned about like whole how things, even if it comes to investments, we do make sure that the investors are safeguarded, right? That is one. But I would just like to share some things about what is happening on the ground. Jandan, great. We have so many accounts. And of course, more than 50% are women. But at the same time, I would say that why, in spite of that, there is one very beautiful component of Jandan, that is overdraft facility, right? You have an overdraft facility where you can take loan of 5,000 on that account.
Especially for women.
Yes.
10,000 for women.
Yes. So then the question is, how many of them are taking that loan?
पता ही नहीं होगा overdraft के बारे में.
हाँ.
खाता किसी ने खोल दिया, overdraft क्या होता है?
नहीं, और खाता भी खोल दिया ना, तो जनधन है, तो लोगों को क्या लगता है, जनधन अकाउंट है, उज्ज्वला गैस योजना अकाउंट है, फिर भी महिलाएं अकाउंट ओपन है पर उसमें ट्रांजैक्शन क्यों नहीं करती हैं? सबसे बड़ी बात है कि क्या वो अकाउंट पे मेरा कंट्रोल है क्या? मैं पैसा रखूंगी और वो पैसा अगर मेरे घर से भी मेरे पति भी विड्रॉ कर लेते हैं, वो नहीं चलेगा, नंबर वन. So that is very, very important, that anything you design for at the grassroots level, the first thing you have to, and particularly for women, it is not access, but control on finance. That is one.
But money in the bank is better than money in the hand. Because मनरेगा में आपको हाथ में पैसा मिलता है, हाथ का पैसा तो हस्बैंड ले ही लेगा ना, यहाँ तो
बैंक में रहेगा, और बैंक में रहेगा तो मेरा कंट्रोल रहेगा, राइट? तो कहाँ तो अगर, और बैंक में आता है तो मैं इकोसिस्टम में, डिजिटल इकोसिस्टम में शामिल हो जाती हूँ. जब उसमें मैं शामिल हो जाती हूँ तो मैं डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन करूँगी. आपने जो बिजनेस करस्पॉन्डेंस की बात की, तो मैं यहाँ एक एग्जांपल देना चाहूँगी कि कितना फ़र्क पड़ता है बिजनेस करस्पॉन्डेंस अगर डोर स्टेप डिजिटल बैंकिंग या बैंकिंग देती है. लेट मी गिव यू एन एग्जांपल ऑफ मनीषा, हु इज स्टेइंग इन अ विलेज in Gangoti in Satara district selling milk. अगर उसका डिजिटल अकाउंट है और अगर वो डिजिटल पेमेंट के लिए एक बिल भेज दे, वो दूध बेचती है और वो बिल भेजती है, कोविड के टाइम दूध का इतना इतना बिल आया, मुझे भेज दो, तो मेरा क्लाइंट भी बहुत प्राउड फील करेगा, राइट? दैट मैं जिससे दूध खरीदता हूँ वो महिला पढ़ी लिखी नहीं है, उसने हाई स्कूल भी नहीं किया, उसको पढ़ने लिखने नहीं आता है, पर वो आज डिजिटल ट्रांजैक्शन करके मुझे बिल भेजती है. सो आई सी दैट शी विल गेट मनी एंड इट इज़ इन हर कंट्रोल. When it is in her control, she decides to spend. So when I want to talk to regulator, what I would say, if majority of our population or half of the population, which is more than half of the population is in remote location, in India, in villages, they will require a assisted mode, that is business correspondence, bank Sakhi or digital Didi. Now, if they are reaching to these women at last mile, should they be only on commission? My question is that, no. Some basic thing. When did we improved in nutrition in child health? When did we do that? When Anganwadi Sevikas were there. We could convince people for vaccination or in COVID. Who was going to the people at last mile? Asha workers were there. So now I feel it is very important. We have bank Sakhis, digital Didis, yes, but don't put them only on commission, because saving is a liability product, right? You have to, and asset credit, you can earn money. Saving is a liability. So little bit of some basic thing they get, and plus commission.
But ma'am, what if they were able to represent more than one service provider and
That
offer
I'm
more
coming
than one
to that,
service?
yes. So then, saving. Now second thing, we fail to understand that there is a huge population, and Ajay was talking about it in this session, that there are even poor women want to save, low-income group women want to save and invest, right? It is there, not just FDs, but small investments, SIP. Now, if we have a both product of investment and banking, and also have an education for bank Sakhis where they can learn this whole investment and have a proper monitoring system, and also caps. You cannot go for those SIPs with high cap. I would just end here by saying that commission, some basic salary, and commissions women are ready to pay. So investment, small investments, and if we don't do, Ponzi schemes are there in the villages. Huh? People are being already cheated. So I think if we think that way, that one weekly market, one bank Sakhi, that will work. Thank you.
All right. I want to come to you, Chadu, giving you the last word, because we've heard all our speakers and we've seen that the government has done a lot, and the regulators, even if they are reactionary, they make changes. Yes, people were being fleeced in insurance. They then came and said, you must lay it out clearly. People felt that mutual fund exit fees are very high. They were brought down. So the regulators work, the government also works. What do you think needs to be done from here on, so that financial inclusion goes to everybody, including those in the underprivileged strata of the society and the minorities? What is the next frontier?
Anisha, thank you. Thanks to Times of India Group for having me here today. I agree with you, the government has done a lot. We have come a long way as a welfare state, as a country working on financial inclusion, but we have an equally long way to go. And when we look at financial inclusion, which is the sector that we are looking at more, the rural parts of the country, we are looking at the marginalized sections in the country, we are looking at women greatly. And when we focus on these numbers, that's when, as a nation, we can talk about changing all the statistics. Now, some things ma'am touched upon that I want to talk about. Women are at least today in a position where they have a bank account, and I was looking at some numbers. Let me repeat them. The gender gap for access to financial services used to be over 23% before the Jan Dhan accounts. After the Jan Dhan accounts, at least this gap, the gender gap, has gone down to around 0.5%. So which is a huge leap forward for us as a country. Of course, the second thing is going to be to have complete and absolute control over the funds that you keep in your accounts. Lakpati Didi is something which is going to go a long way, because we already have the plans to have more than 3 crore Lakpati Didis to begin with. Already with the number is at 3 crores. And if you multiply that 1 lakh amount with 3 crore young women in the country, it's going to take these girls places, absolutely. One very new initiative of the government that I want to mention here again is Niveshak Didi. So when we are talking about understanding finance, when we are talking about understanding how to use your money, save your money, invest your money, the basics of that, Niveshak Didi is interesting because it is a woman talking to other women and explaining to them how they can wisely use their money, use it for business, use it for saving, SIP schemes, all of the above, and it was launched in Srinagar. And the success rate was very high. There was a lot of very good, very interesting things written about it. Lastly, I'm going to also end by saying that social media has helped a lot for financial inclusion. And this penetration of social media to literally every nook and corner of the country has helped so much that women who have a Facebook account now understand they can be businesswomen, and they will start looking for funds. They will maybe apply for a Mudra Yojana. 70% of Mudra Yojana goes to women. There is Startup India, again focusing on women. Stand Up India is nearly all about women and the marginalized sector. So social media penetration is going to be extremely helpful. Also now we have RBI conducting small courses, and RBI is getting on the ground teaching people better finances. They're teaching them better financial literacy. I just think one step ahead our government can go is include a class or some kind of a workshop on financial literacy in our schools itself, because I think that is greatly lacking. I would have benefited from it. This generation will definitely benefit from it.
Let's hope it starts in schools soon. Thank you all for coming here and sharing your thoughts. If there are any questions, please raise your hand. Please identify yourself and the speaker to who you want to ask the question, and ask your question.
Hello everyone. Myself Prashant Rajada, and I am the founder and CEO of Noble Spirit OPC Private Limited. We are a startup company in fashion industry, slow fashion industry. And my question is very simple to Praveen ji. What are the steps taken by SEBI to regulate cryptocurrency investment, and how SEBI is working in collaboration with Indian government? ये सवाल इसलिए भी important है क्योंकि मैंने ये देखा है कि जो कॉलेज पास आउट स्टूडेंट्स होते हैं और जो टीनेजर्स होते हैं वो ब्लाइंडली क्रिप्टो करेंसी को फॉलो करते हैं एंड दे समहाउ लूज देयर मनी, और वो फिर आगे के लिए उनके लिए रिस्की हो जाता है. कहीं पे भी जब वो थोड़ा सा बड़े होते हैं, ग्रो करते हैं, तो उनके लिए रिस्की हो जाता है कि इन्वेस्टमेंट कहाँ करें, बिकॉज they have no gain any proper education. So how SEBI is working in that direction? Thank you very much.
So I will start with the disclaimer first, that I left SEBI in 2018. So what SEBI and this cryptocurrency and all has come out just recently. So I am not aware of, and to the best of my knowledge, this being currencies should be regulated by RBI. And what I have read in the newspapers, RBI has never allowed this to happen. So I'm sorry, I can't throw more light on this.
Thank you anyways.
Any more questions? Please raise your hand. There's one person there raising their hand.
Yeah, my question is for Ms. Chetna Gala. Like, how are you promoting financial literacy amongst women, even because in the past we have seen a lot of scams have been targeted towards women who are not that educated, right? And then, so how do you perceive to like overcome that, and how are you like planning to educate them in a very easy manner?
Sorry?
Are you saying women are silly and
No, not
vulnerable,
that.
they get duped easily?
No. In the traditional, in the like Sahara scam and all the other scams where they have been putting in money. And so how are you promoting in the like underprivileged areas?
So I just would like to say one thing. See, one of the things that women always want to save, right? When they want to save, they are going into these scams. So the first thing has to be either it is sector or regulator that reach them at their doorstep with the proper banking system, in the financial sector. The second is about the financial literacy. So Mandeshi does, we started a financial literacy in 1999 actually. We were the first in India to do that financial literacy. And actually it was demanded by women. that we want to know more, we want to understand to how to manage the finance. And these women were not educated. But at the same time, so we have digital financial literacy, everything. But I would like to add, like, you know, it's not just teaching but that has to be some action also. And these women who are first-time savers, first-time borrowers, they have so many issues. So even like women who take loans from microcredit or anything, we have, and they are sometimes not able to repay it, or their husbands have taken loan and they are not able to repay, default, some have run away from the house. So we start with debt counseling also. I think it's not just like teaching finance, but when you are getting into this sector, we are not a salary earner, then you need to understand the complexities and what are the repercussions you are going to face. We have digital financial literacy, we have tied up with design, Manipal University and Institute of Design to make it more pictorial, as you mentioned about the social media, that how you make a films and all. And the most important part, I feel, is that there has to be action. So you provide, it's not one-time thing, they are regularly mentored and helped how they go ahead. But, and with the younger generation, particularly when young girls who want to do savings, who want to spend money, how you are going to spend. So it's all about the wealth creation. And I would just say that financial literacy, actually women, they make sure that it ends up into the asset creation for them.
Dr. Sao wanted to add.
Yeah, just to add a small point. You know, RBI in collaboration with the NGOs, they are doing financial literacy camps. And also the private sector, whether it's HDFC, ITC, in fact, the numbers I have at NITI, it's something like 23 lakhs financial literacy camps have been organized. So it's not that we need to really literate everybody, but then if few of them from a village or from an area, they know about like financial products and all that, you know, safety features, how to use it, then it has multiplier impact. Because in a village, if two people know about it, I'm sure it helps almost all of them in the village. I think that is how we need to go. It's a big country. Still, I think it's the valid point is we have long way to go even today. Okay, thank you.
I would like to thank all our speakers. Thank you so much for coming here. And I think my takeaways for good regulation, हमें दीदी चाहिए. घर पे दीदी होती है, हमें हेल्प करती है. और यहाँ भी इंक्लूजन के लिए ग्राउंड लेवल पे एक दीदी चाहिए जिसका सब भरोसा करती हो. थैंक यू सो मच फॉर जॉइनिंग अस.
So that was a lovely panel indeed. I actually wanted to have our next panel, which talks all about women, but I think that will have to wait. So now we know technology is throwing up the most exciting opportunities ever in the history of mankind. And artificial intelligence has been making inroads into our lives. In the mornings when we wake up, probably Alexa and Siri are helping us do that. A lot of us are having wearable devices which monitor our health. Then what kind of music are we listening to? What kind of content are we, consuming on OTT? And also a lot of us would have used maps to reach here. So AI is already a big part of what is happening today. Now, while AI continues to evolve, it has the potential to bridge the gap in financial knowledge and empower individuals to navigate complex financial landscapes confidently. So in our next fireside chat, let's discuss AI-powered financial literacy, leveraging technology for inclusive growth. Let me invite Anita Shah Keller, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Corporate Affairs and CEO, IEPFA. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Ms. Anita Shah Keller. And to chair this conversation, let me have on stage Mr. Prasad Sanyal.
Good afternoon, everyone. after that very insightful panel. Let me get right into the discussion with Anita. Like she's been introduced, Anita is the CEO of IEPFA. Anita, let's start with an understanding of what IEPFA does at an overall level.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure to be here on this panel. I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Investor Education and Protection Fund Authority. This is an authority established under Section 125 of the Companies Act 2013. What we do is, when the shares or dividends are unpaid over a period of 7 years, they come to the government account, and the claimants can make a claim on our website. There's a form called IPF 5. So then we take the verification from the company, and then we return the shares as well as the dividend amount to them. The other mandate that we have is that of spreading financial literacy. So that is a very big mandate of ours. In that direction, we've taken out various new initiatives. I'm thankful for the earlier speaker to have mentioned the Niveshak Didi. This was something we partnered with the Indian Postal Payment Bank. And this initiative we had launched in the November of 22 on the Dal Lake. That was the first time a floating literacy camp was held. So our idea was of the woman, for the woman, by the woman. So it was basically our focus group was the women of all the rural areas especially. So this initiative has been going on. Now we are waiting for our second initiative to start off. Then we also have Niveshak Sarthi, which is a kind of a van which carries all the TVCs, etc. And also there is a village level entrepreneur who explains to the village level people as to where you should invest, how you should invest. We also have segmented investor material also, which is being distributed. We have it in 17 languages. Then we have a concept of Nukkad Natak. Wherever we go, we have a Nukkad Natak which is done in their language. For instance, we had a Nukkad Natak, we had a state level conference in Mizoram, and we had a state level conference in Jammu Kashmir. So at that point of time, we had this Nukkad Natak which was explained to the people that how you should not get fooled. If somebody is offering you, say that I'm going to double your money in 2 years, so do not believe them. Check your facts for yourself. So we also have TV commercials. We have a Hisab Ki Kitab book series also which is running around. And we have a mascot called Fundu. We have our office in New Delhi. So that's only one branch that we have as of now.
So that's a lot of wonderful initiatives that you're already running. But when it comes to technology and financial literacy, one of the questions that often arises is how do you help technology make it more inclusive? And how do you reach that last mile person who's not financially aware as to her options of investing? How do you see AI powering that inclusiveness?
For now, like when we want to make these segmented material, we rely a lot on the input that are given by various persons, and it takes a lot of time to make these things. And then I am not very sure if I'm reaching the right target group. It's quite possible that in Tamil Nadu, there's a certain set of people, there is a certain set of literacy available there. The annual income group should be so. So if I could get that metadata and probably get the exact set of people that I would like to target, AI, I assume, should be able to help me to make a tailored, specific program for just these kind of people. So it could be for women who are working, or it could be for women who are probably housewives, or it could be for women who are underprivileged women. For instance, we've just started a scheme called Niveshak Pehel, where we are educating the drivers, the mates of various RWAs. So that is another initiative. So in order to get information for that initiative, where we should target, so AI will be helping us in that. We want to use AI for that purpose.
So you're saying AI is going to help personalize
personalize, tailor-make.
Tailor-make
Yeah.
those
In
various initiatives.
Right. In fact, just to give you an example, like now with the government going in for the Jam Trinity, where you've got Jan Dhan Yojana, you've got mobile, you've got Aadhaar. And then also there are various schemes that are catering to specific sections of the government. So for those specific sections, for instance, if you have, say, a fisherman who's getting a loan of 10 lakhs, so people could very well approach that person because he would not know anything. He would not be financially literate. So people could approach him and say, okay, you give me that money and I'm going to double it in 2 months and give it to you. So we cannot allow these people to be fooled. So they need to know that you cannot invest your money. You can't give it away like this. You need to invest in savings bank. You need to invest some money here, some money here. It could also help in, say, stock investment, and various portfolios could be suggested by AI. So this is what we're looking at as the future of AI in financial inclusion.
So AI is helping in risk management in a sense. It's
Right.
creating various individual profiles, helping investors understand their risk profile better.
Yeah.
How do you think through your various initiatives and through the government's various initiatives, how do you think literacy helps mitigate risk overall for investors? Because our reach in the financial literacy space is now the government's reach is being focused in rural areas, in tier 3 and tier 2 towns.
Right.
How do you think literacy is overall helping mitigate these risks?
If you see now that people are more financially aware in the towns and villages also, the tier 2, tier 3 cities, towns, they are also very well aware for the simple reason that the internet is very easily available. Everybody has got a mobile phone. Everybody goes through Instagram, through YouTube, through Twitter. So they follow all these things. Whatever advice is being given is being followed, yes. But then how to be careful with those advices, how to exactly ensure that what advice is being given to you is correct or not. AI could be tailored in a way in order to probably filter out these kind of risky investments, or also indicate what could be the more safer investment depending upon the risk profile. If I'm somebody who is willing to take a higher risk, that's fine. But if I'm somebody whose risk taking ability is very less, probably the AI could suggest, okay, you can invest in, say, blue chip funds, or you could invest in a simple FD, or some such, or you could probably invest in some land, or very simple investments could be done. Something like that could come out.
So, and just to wrap up our discussion before I throw it open to the audience, how do you see the IPFA's role going forward, and how do you see that extending to larger parts of India in terms of just touching a larger population base?
IPFA has a long way to go insofar as going into the financial literacy part is concerned. We are looking at partnering with various organizations in order to spread the literacy right down to the last mile. We would be looking at AI and other such tailor-made segmented programs which we could introduce to people. We also are looking at developing certain games. Like we've developed one game called Fundonomics, which is like essentially snakes and ladders. So if you do a right step, supposing you do some saving, then you are going one step up. And then if you are spending on something else, you're going down. So this we propose to develop into a video game. So we plan to have a lot of video games so that the penetration goes down to the children, to different strata of the society. So this is what we'll look at.
I'm going to throw it open to the audience for a couple of questions. If anyone has a question. Okay. A mic there, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Sudhir. My question is regarding your IPF initiative. I personally lost some shares, and I am a chartered accountant. It took me a while and a lot of hassles to realize that share back. I got it, but I have seen that people have to go to agents and they charge 10% almost, maybe more than that. So why can't we make it much easier for small investors to get their shares back?
So we are looking at improving the processes to make the claims easier. The only issue that we have over here is that there is a lot of documentation which is involved. We are working with SEBI and RBI to reduce the amount of documentation in order to be able to check, probably bring in less number of documents and make it quicker. We are looking at that, yes. We are aware that it's taking time and we are looking at it.
It's fairly complicated for an ordinary person, I can tell you.
Yeah.
I think the gentleman on the front table has a question.
Thank you so much for the session. I think it was really useful. My question is, you mentioned about this game Fundonomics, right? Is it being distributed to maybe colleges or schools or any other way it is being given to people to learn from? If it is in practice right now, what are the means through which it's being distributed to people?
Distribute the material, that's by hand.
Yeah, I mean, basically for them to play it and use it.
We have to still go a long way in that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Very interesting idea, ma'am.
Thank you, Anita. That's, I'm afraid, all the time we have. But thank you so much for this very informative panel.
A very educative chat indeed. Next, we'll straight on move now. We know that financial literacy is tied to inclusive growth. The next topic that we have is called Dhan Ki Baat, investment strategies for inclusive growth. And let me invite on stage for this Ankur Variku, an internet entrepreneur and one of India's top content creators. He's also the best-selling author and conducts online courses as an educator. So is Ankur Variku here? Okay, so here walks in Ankur Variku. And let me also have on stage Ajay Lakhotia, founder of Stockgrow, for this conversation. Okay, I think everybody is kind of taking a small chai break. Can we have Ajay Lakhotia as well on the stage? Ankur, please have a seat.
Ajay is not in the room here. Yeah, I don't see him here, which is fine.
So Ankur, you were used to talking about a lot of other stuff, but today I think you'll just be focusing on Dhan Ki Baat, right?
Yes, that's what I'm told, which is a very broad topic, so we'll cover that in a good way.
Okay, so here
Ajay ji,
Ajay Lakhotia, ladies and gentlemen, nice warm round of applause for both these gentlemen here.
Okay. Dhan Ki Baat. I have no idea what that will be. So आप शुरुआत करेंगे and I will follow your lead.
Guys, before I start this, I must tell all of you guys, I've known Ankur for, what, almost a decade now?
Yeah, almost a decade now,
yes. I've seen him build businesses. He's been an inspiration.
Thank you.
And he's my alum. He's from my school.
Thank you so much. That's really, really sweet of you. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Ankur, I think when it comes to Dhan Ki Baat, na, I would want to touch
Gentlemen,
upon...
let me just please stop you here. We'll also be joined by Pankaj Doval here on the stage. Can I have the set people bring in one more chair and table, please? Thank you so much.
We were wondering where you are, but you're here. Can we also have a mic for him, please? Nothing here. Nothing.
spread us out now.
Thank you so much. And to be honest, sorry for being late by a few minutes. If I was coming from somewhere, I would have blamed the economy. The economy is growing very fast. There's traffic on the road. But I was just here. But thank you so much. And I had a very good session with Ajay in the morning. And I was chatting up with Ankur outside. And he's very straightforward in his views. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Nothing beyond that. But, we spoke to Ajay in the morning. And, I was reading up on Ankur. Very, very interesting guy. I said, I have seen you somewhere, and everybody would have seen him somewhere. Because he's there on YouTube and a lot of social media channels and giving you, ideas and gyan on, how to invest, where to, why you should invest. And I think both of them are doing the same thing. And I was just thinking about him, that I've heard about serial killers. We all have heard about serial killers, but he's a serial entrepreneur. So, he started with, I think, Second Shadi, and then Gaadi.com, and then, he was doing Groupon. And then, he thought that why not go into I would say, public philanthropy, because he says, I don't make money through ads on my platform. He's got 3.7 million users, subscribers on his YouTube channel, which is fantastic, but he doesn't monetize that because he says, I do CSR, but I don't call it CSR. Which is interesting. And, interestingly, I was listening to some of his videos where he said that FD is Mummy Papa ka pyar. I don't know Mummy Papa ka pyar is good or bad, but he says that FD is Mummy Papa ka pyar, so you should look at returns beyond that. So, welcome. Big round of applause to these guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And Ankur, this time we'll start with you. So what is it about investing? Generally if I look at it, क्या ज़रूरी है invest करना? मतलब can't I be satisfied doing my job, get my salary, pay my taxes, do my expenses, और जो बचा कुछ है, जो थोड़ा पैसा बचा है, I just leave it in the bank and just relax. Because I was listening to your speech where you were even talking to people who are getting 10,000 rupees per month salary. तो वो बेचारा कहाँ बचाएगा? वो कुछ थोड़ा तो अपने रखेगा कि for security. Is it necessary to invest?
I love that question. That's a great question to start. This is a very, very fine audience. Roseate House में हम दिल्ली की सर्दियों की धूप में बैठे हुए हैं. How many of you here are working? How many of you here have a job? Or have an income? Okay. How many of you here have an income?
Everyone,
a job,
sure.
because okay. And how many of you are regular investors? And when I mean regular, I mean every single month. Great, right? So this is a very fine audience. Why do you all invest? Who's told you to invest? Pankaj ji ke sawal ka jawab dijiye, please. Why do you invest? Could I have some answers? Why do you invest? To beat the? Who needs to beat the inflation? Why do you need to beat inflation? ने आपका क्या बिगाड़ा है?
To grow my money.
Which is very different from beating inflation. Let's stick with beating inflation. What is the problem with inflation? Inflation को क्यों beat करना है?
So that
what is inflation? What is inflation? Besides a number reported by the government every now and then. What is inflation? If I tell you inflation is 6%, what does it mean?
it means that if I spend 100 rupees as of now, next year I have to spend 106 rupees to get the same thing.
Brilliant. Great. So if inflation is 6%, sorry, I'm giving you a very, very basic thing. This is not a judgment call on your understanding, but I'm just so used to making this content. If you experience inflation of 6%, that means if something is worth 100 rupees today, next year, it will be 106 rupees. So the same 100 rupees, if kept in the bank or under your pillow or underneath the mattress or in a vault, will buy lesser and lesser progressively every year. So your money is getting destroyed because of inflation. It's the biggest villain in the villain world when it comes to money. And that is the simple reason why you need to invest, to beat inflation, as sir mentioned. If you don't do that, then all the hard work you put in to earn money, which is a ridiculous amount of hard work every single day, month, year, goes for a waste. Because your money in the bank or not invested is rusting because of inflation. And that's one of the reasons. So to answer your question, the simplest reason to invest, is to beat inflation.
But you know, India is a conservative country and people have done well. I'm not saying that people who have not invested in markets have done badly. You look at your grandfather or father and people like that who may not have been active investors in the market, and somehow many of them come across and say ki beta itna banaya, and you say ki haan, it was done safely and it was good. But there was not much to cry about it. So do you think that it is only when you talk about investment, and you know, I'll ask you and then I go to Ajay, that is it necessary that if you have to invest, then you have to go to the markets, maybe through SIPs or through stocks? There is no other investment apart from markets?
No, absolutely not. Who says that? I wouldn't say that. That'll be a stupid thing to say.
Yeah.
Anything that beats the inflation is an investment. Whether you buy real estate, you buy gold, you invest regularly in Provident Fund, you buy ELSS, you buy corporate bonds, you do a combination of these three things.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter. What matters is that you are principled and accountable to your money because you work hard for it, and your job is to beat inflation. As long as you're beating it, your money is growing faster than the rate at which it's getting destroyed, and that is a great place to be.
Destroy sounds very dangerous. But Ajay, if I come to you, you can't say market ke alawa kuch aur because your company's name is Stock Grow. So it's a clear answer, only markets and nothing else. Huh?
Pankaj, the reason I always recommend markets is because markets are liquid. Right? Markets are liquid. It's very easy for you to move in and out, liquidate your assets.
Yeah.
90% of the janta loves to talk about investment but live in a regret loop. Right? My dad would tell me, ये जो ज़मीन दिख रही है ना, ये मुझे ये लाख रुपए में मिल रही थी. आज इसका दाम 1 करोड़ हो गया है. Right? So it's a period of 20 years and everyone goes back saying, if I would have done it, I could have done it, I would have become rich. That's the problem that everyone faces.
Yeah.
Markets, simply because the liquidity is there, especially in a country like ours, where you can move in and out very quickly.
Yeah. But you know, this is one thing that, you know, everybody hears about stories like कि इतना पैसा लगाया, इतना बन गया, mutual fund में डाला तो 12% आ रहा है. Nobody tells you stories about कैसे people have lost money. So, you know, is it always a success story if supposing somebody goes to a SIP, into an SIP or into stocks, कि यार उसने बनाया, इसने बनाया, and we are making money. Do you also tell them that people lose money also in this? And I also invest in SIPs or stocks, so I'm not trying to say that, you know, one should not. But do you give a full picture that there are people who've lost money and, you know, it could also lead to losses that, you know, because there's no underlying asset except for the stock. Yes, it is. But like in gold, आपको पता है gold का कम बढ़ेगा पर बढ़ेगा, आपके पास पड़ा हुआ है. FD है तो SBI ने छप्पा लगा के दे रखा है, पैसा मिलेगा ही मिलेगा. इसमें ये है कि पैसा बन भी सकता है और पैसा जा भी सकता है. So do you give that kind of a you know confession as well कि यार ऐसा भी होता है? Do you concede that? You know?
आप गलत लोगों से पूछ रहे हैं.
नहीं, अब मैं तभी पूछ रहा हूँ आपसे.
Very smart individuals here. I'll ask a quiz. हाँ, मेरे को अपने सवालों का जवाब देने का मन नहीं करता.
He is not answering the question. He is coming to you.
Because that's how I teach.
Okay.
So, question. Everybody, how many of you know what the Nifty 50 is? Okay, for those who do not know, Nifty 50 is the combination of the top 50 Indian companies listed on the National Stock Exchange. So your usual suspects, Reliance, Tata, SBI, so on and so forth. अगर आप एक साल सिर्फ Nifty 50 के index में invest करते हैं, what is the probability that you will make money? एक साल Nifty 50 में invest करते हैं, what is the probability you will make money? Any answer? Give me an answer. Say that again. 15%. कोई और? 10%. कोई और? 90. Wow, तो आपका सारा पैसा वहीं लगा हुआ है. Okay, 90%. Anybody else? I'm looking for the right answer. Oh, that's a very safe answer. The answer is 50%. It's 50%. It's almost like tossing a coin. And then Pankaj ji is right. It's like gambling. ये तो कोई भी नहीं करेगा अपने पैसे के साथ कि आप एक साल invest करेंगे, heads आया तो पैसे गए, tails आया तो पैसे बन गए. Why would you do that? But now extend the 1 year to 5 years. Over a 5-year period, any 5-year period in the history of Nifty 50 ever since it started, what is the probability you will make money? It's 100%. It's 100%. It's 100%. There has been no period in the history of Nifty 50 where over 5 years, the index has not made any money. But you're all smart. So you'll be like, Ankur Wariku, तुम हमें बेवकूफ बना रहे हो. क्योंकि 0% return तो बच्चा भी बना लेता है. मेरा FD मुझे 5-6% लेता है, तो 0% का मैं अचार डालूंगा. Very right. So let's up the game. What's the probability that the Nifty 50 over a 5-year period has made at least 8% returns? 8% returns मतलब FD को भी beat कर लिया है. थोड़ा ज़्यादा हो गया. It's 90%. It's 90%. But
so
you extend
there
that
is
5
there is
to 10.
10% where people have lost money then. There is 10% where it may not have given you more than FD.
Yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
now you extend it to 10 years. अब
Yeah.
दुखी मत होइए सर.
अरे ना ना ना.
बिल्कुल नहीं. हम आपकी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व
I
करेंगे.
am asking question that audience wants
हम
to know.
आपकी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करेंगे सर.
Okay.
हम यहाँ इसीलिए बैठे हैं.
Okay.
आप 10 साल तक इन्वेस्ट करिए. And 10 साल the probability, ये by the way टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया का स्टडी है, ये मैंने नहीं बताया. टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया नाम
We
सुना
don't
होगा.
do any study, huh?
Research quoted by Times of India.
quoted,
Because Times
research
of India को
quoted.
study नहीं करता है. I agree. तो 10-year period, the probability that the Nifty 50 has made 8% returns is 100%. There's never been any period in the last X periods where Nifty 50 was live that over a 10-year period it has not made at least 8%. The average is 12%. This means you have not eliminated the risk. So stock market में inherently risk है. What you do as smart individuals is never try to eliminate risk in life. वो कभी नहीं होगा. आप घर से बाहर निकलेंगे, खुदा ना खास्ता एक एक्सीडेंट होने का रिस्क होता है. लेकिन आप तब भी घर से बाहर निकलते हैं. क्यों? Because you know how to mitigate the risk. You know how to manage the risk. Not bring it down to zero, but manage it. And time is the best way to manage risk in the stock market if you want to be a long-term investor. That's the only lesson that I teach people when they lose money. Think of options, futures, derivatives, where you can lose insane amount of money over only 100 rupees as well. I don't know that game. I don't play that game. I don't endorse that game. But if you want to make money passively, it is ridiculous how easy it is to make money, and it's baffling how many people still think that it's risky.
Okay, we'll trouble him some more in the next question, but before that, let's go to Ajay.
But
Ajay, what is
Pankaj,
what is
if you actually look at the data, not just of Indian stock market, but all the global indices, the most liquid indices out there, every time there's a crash, every time there has been a crash in US market or India market, they have recovered by at least 2 times. So whenever there's a correction in the market, that's actually the best time to go and invest your money, not the time when you get scared saying, abhi invest nahi karna. It's just the other way around.
No. So basically, broadly, you guys are saying that one should keep on investing and investing long term. That there are good gains to be made. My question is, and I was asking Ankur outside as well, that the thing about timing of cashing out. People say somebody is saying I am investing for my daughter's wedding. Somebody is saying I'm investing for my son's marriage, or I'm investing for my car that'll buy after 3 years. The problem is you can't time the markets. So when the time is to cash out, somebody's son needs to go for higher education abroad, and you need to cash out. Us time pe aapke markets have crashed. It's possible. It's possible, quite possible. So in other forms of investments, if it's a real estate or if it's other things like gold and all, generally कि ठीक है कम मिलेगा, but मिलेगा returns up ही मिलेंगे. At a time when markets have crashed, and आपकी ज़रूरत तभी है. What do you do about that? I'll start with Ajay this time and Ankur will come later.
क्योंकि मैं लंबे जवाब देता हूँ.
Markets would crash doesn't mean that your wealth will get wiped out.
Thank you. How can you be so smart?
Right, तो market आपने 100 रुपए डाले, हो सकता है 100 का 80 हो गया है, for some odd reason, right? That market has crashed for that year. Doesn't mean that 100 has gone to zero. So you still have the money, you can still cash out and fund whatever is required. On the other side, if you invest in real estate, it is one of the most illiquid assets. आपने आज पैसे डाले और जिस दिन आपको चाहिए होंगे, what is the probability that in next 10 days you will actually be able to exit that asset?
Right. Yes, Ankur.
No, हो गया.
नहीं, बोलो.
नहीं, यही बोलना था उनको. मैंने बता दिया था बाहर ही यही जवाब देना.
Okay. Now let's understand like what do you have to do to plan your investments, because that is very important. That like many people tell us that don't put all your eggs in one basket. So don't put everything into stocks. थोड़ा सा gold में डालो, थोड़ा सा SIP में डालो, थोड़ा stocks में डालो, maybe थोड़ा real estate में डालो. So as per you, like should you diversify your investment portfolio, and you should look at all kinds of investment options rather than put all your eggs in an SIP or something like that?
Pankaj, I think Ankur will explain this much better, but I have just one single view on this. Start. लोग शुरू ही नहीं करते हैं. They just keep thinking कि हम कहीं ना कहीं will start doing this. They don't start investment. At least start your investment journey.
Like I was reading Ankur's mantra is do epic shit. Am I right?
Yes.
मैंने research करी है.
Thank you so much, sir. नहीं, मैंने बिल्कुल भी आप पे शक नहीं किया था.
हाँ, तो आप बताइए अब. Do epic shit?
हाँ, which in investing means कि you have to diversify. एक बहुत simple rule होता है 100 minus X rule. What it says is कि अगर आपकी उम्र X है, let's say you are 30, तो आप X% मतलब 30% safe assets में invest करेंगे, which could be a fixed deposit, could be a provident fund, could be the national pension scheme, could be the savings certificate, anything that gives you comfort and you know is relatively safe. Could be real estate as well if you want to. And then 100 minus X%, which in the age of 30 would be 70%, is invested in the stock market, because then that allows you to play with a slightly broader risk over a period of time. And naturally, जैसे जैसे आपकी उम्र बढ़ती रहेगी, it's obvious you're investing more in safer assets to protect your money and lesser in the variable assets, which could be the stock market.
Ankur, this is also a function of quantum of capital, right?
Absolutely.
अगर मेरे पास 1 करोड़ रुपए invest करने, then I'll see यार 15% return मिलता है तो भी अच्छा है, and I'll be a little safer.
Totally.
But अगर मुझे 10,000 invest करना है, I would want to double my money.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. So there is a nice grid of age and income that one can think of to do it. वो थोड़ा detail हो जाता है तो इसलिए मैंने किताब लिखी है, but that's besides the point. One often made mistake is जब लोग म्यूचुअल फंड में घुसने की कोशिश करते हैं तो यहाँ जैसे अजय ने बताया या तो घुसते ही नहीं है कि मुझे नहीं आता, मुझे नहीं चमकता, कोई और करेगा वगैरह, या ऐसे घुसते हैं कि कोई अंत ही नहीं है तो 7, 8, 15, 16 म्यूचुअल फंड खरीद लेते हैं, कहीं का कुछ नहीं छोड़ते हैं, because they feel more the mutual funds better will be the return. What they don't think through is that the mutual fund is also buying a stock at the end of it. So if you're buying the same nature of mutual funds, you're buying essentially the same stocks again. My opinion, you only need 3 mutual funds. One, you need a Nifty 50, which is a large cap mutual fund. Second, you need a mid cap or a flexi mutual fund. And third, you need a small cap mutual fund. This is an increasing order of risk. Small caps, extremely risky, not preferred to go very high on, but you should always have a nice percentage in there. So a good percentage in my head is 60% large cap, 25% mid cap, 15% small cap. But again, as I mentioned, if you're young and you're willing to take risk, या अगर आप सिर्फ 10,000 से invest कर रहे हैं, you can easily have a much broader exposure to small cap, giving you a longer return, much higher return over a longer period of time. And those are nuances that can play. But please don't make the mistake of going multiple mutual funds just for the heck of it, because that doesn't add up to more returns.
So you guys are financial influencers in your own right. But if I ask you your views on, there are hundreds of financial influencers online or on television, and time and again SEBI has also raised concerns about some of them. I'm not saying all of them. What is your view on financial influencers? Should people generally believe all of them? Because usko to pata nahi ki Ankur Variku is saying the right thing, somebody is saying the wrong thing. How do you go about even deciding on which financial influencer to follow? Any tips for people to understand that? Like on his platform, they have a rating. You can see where they are investing, whether they are not investing. So are there any ways that people at least should know that, yeah, I should follow this guy or I should not follow this guy?
Do you want to start first? I can give my point of view. But
we are trying to simplify this, Pankaj, on StockGrow. Right? So whoever is the influencer, whoever is building a portfolio and suggesting people, right, saying ऐसा कुछ करते हैं. The easiest way for a follower is to come back on StockGrow, look at the profile, look at the portfolio. Even if it's virtual, you can see the track record, saying whatever he is saying, is he actually able to generate some kind of return on his own virtual portfolio, which is a validation. Then it becomes very easy for a followers to gain that confidence, saying, नहीं मुझे जो बता रहे हैं, he's actually doing it, he's actually generating that kind of return. and it's good to follow him. So that validation is being created on the platform now.
So my answer will be somewhat similar. I follow the principle in life of skin in the game. जब तक किसी इंसान का खुद का कुछ फंसा नहीं हुआ है, तब तक उस पर भरोसा करने की आपको कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है. क्योंकि ज्ञान देना तो बहुत आसान है, लेकिन उस ज्ञान की वजह से अगर किसी का फ़ायदा नहीं होता है, तो आपका भी नुकसान होना चाहिए. That is when you have skin in the game. अगर आपने ज्ञान दे दिया, किसी का घाटा हो या कुछ भी हो, and you are unaffected, it's cheap advice. So I would say, number one, distinguish between somebody who's trying to teach you and somebody who's trying to prescribe to you. Teachers बहुत हैं. Teachers मुझे लगता है जितने ज़्यादा इस देश में होंगे, उतना भी कम है. It's almost unfortunate, and I say this with all humility, it's almost unfortunate that a random Ankur Warikoo has 3.7 million subscribers on YouTube and not the best banks in this country. Why shouldn't the best banks and the best financial institutions and the best government bodies trying to teach financial literacy have 10 million followers? Why shouldn't they have that? They have everything including trust. Why does a random person like me get to 3.7 million followers? And I'd say because there is something in the manner people are teaching that is landing well on the audience that is receiving it. बहुत वक्त हो चुका है जहां हम बच्चों को बताते रहते हैं कि ये नहीं करोगे तो ये हो जाएगा, ये नहीं करोगे तो ये हो जाएगा, ये नहीं करोगे तो ये हो जाएगा. This generation doesn't want to be talked down upon. They have had enough. They want people that can speak to them in a manner that they are treated as adults, well-meaning individuals, and you have a relatable conversation where you're not talking down on them, but talking to them. And that is what information and teaching does. Prescription, very tricky. आप ये स्टॉक खरीदिए, ये होने वाला है. आप ये म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट करिए, ये होने वाला है. आप ये स्कीम कर लीजिए, ये होने वाला है. Again, I would not believe that personally, जब तक मुझे guaranteed नहीं पता है कि इस इंसान का खुद का पैसा इसमें डाला हुआ है. अगर डाला हुआ है, तो उसका भी उसी रिस्क के साथ पैसा डाला है जितना मेरे को सजेस्ट किया जा रहा है. अगर उसका नहीं डाला है, I would not agree with that.
Right. So now we'll take some questions from the audience because I was told times, we are heading towards the closure. So please raise your hand, identify yourself, please. Let's start with the lady and then I'll come to you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Pooja, and I just wanted to know about the trading. I've seen so many influencers putting up lots of videos on trading and day trading. See, I understand the industry growing up in a time period manner. They are working hard and they are growing. But when people are investing them for morning, buy किया, शाम को बेच दिया, दोपहर में बेच दिया, so much of fluctuation they are conducting. So when lots of people doing the trading just for the sake of putting up money morning and by getting out of in the afternoon, maybe a day or something like that. So where is the faith in that company? How the people, are we creating some kind of hype in the market just for the sake of investing? People are doing it. I know many people which are doing this kind of trading. There are so many people are teaching out there. देखो ऐसा कैंडल चार्ट आता है, इसको मॉर्निंग में ऐसे देख लो, इसको इवनिंग में ये कर लो, तो ये you can find out. So in the sake of asking people to investing, are we just pushing up the industry or pushing up the money in the market that all the brokers can buy get out of money for that, because lot of money goes into a broker's head also.
Are you creating a lot of hype, unnecessary hype one would say, and
So
trying to
investing long
influence
term
the
I could
investors?
understand.
Are you trying to create unnecessary hype and influencing the investors?
क्योंकि मैम आप एक टीचर हैं तो एक थोड़ा सा छोटे मुंह बड़ी बात, ट्रेडिंग और इन्वेस्टिंग को कभी भी इंटरचेंजेबली यूज मत करिएगा, क्योंकि वो बिल्कुल गलत है. ट्रेडिंग इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट यू आर डिस्क्राइबिंग, कि आप एक प्राइस मूवमेंट पे बेट करके अपना पैसा लिक्विडेट कर देते हैं, यूजुअली इन अ शॉर्ट पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. इन्वेस्टिंग इज आप ओनरशिप लेते हैं उस स्टॉक का एंड आप शेयर होल्डर बन के उसका रिटर्न देखते हैं ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. दैट कुड बी अ ईयर, 2 ईयर और 10 ईयर्स और 30 ईयर्स, व्हाटएवर द केस इज. दोनों बहुत बहुत अलग फितरत है. मेरा एक अप्रोच है लाइफ में, मुझे ट्रेडिंग नहीं आती है तो मैं ट्रेडिंग के बारे में बात नहीं करता हूं, तो आई एम द रॉन्ग पर्सन टू इवन आंसर. बट इन जनरल, नॉट कमेंटिंग टू यू बट यूजिंग यू एज एन एग्जाम्पल, पैसा बनाने का बहुत तरीका है पूरी दुनिया में, बहुत तरीके हैं. हमें ना यहाँ कोई मॉरल जजमेंट नहीं लेना चाहिए. क्योंकि जब तक इंसान खुद का पैसा खुद की इजाजत से डालकर लूज या गेन करने के लिए तैयार है, उनकी जिंदगी, उनका पैसा, उनकी फितरत, उनकी प्रॉब्लम. एंड द मार्केट विल ऑलवेज सेल्फ सेलेक्ट. कोई गधा नहीं होगा जो पैसे लूज करते हुए वापस आ जाएगा उसको करने के लिए. अगर होगा तो वो जुआरी है, नहीं होगा तो वो समझदार इंसान है. लेकिन द मार्केट विल ऑलवेज सेल्फ सेलेक्ट. I don't think we should form any moral judgment on how people are making money as long as it is not affecting somebody else and only them. This is my point of view. I again said I am not into trading. As a fact, globally, the trading market is at least 20 times that of the delivery market. Everywhere. It's not just India. It's every market and every index in the world.
Yeah, Ankur, and I'll give you the numbers for Indian market.
Please.
Right? In India, $20 billion of delivery trade happens in a day on the exchange. Can you guess what is the derivative trade volume in India? $200 billion in a single day. So to answer your question, can individual investors who are going and trading in derivative and probably putting a lakh, 2 lakh, 5 lakh rupees, is that making a dent in the market? No, it's not making a dent in the market. People who are teaching you how to do a day trade, are they making money through brokers? They are not making money through brokers. They are trying to teach something which they are passionate about. It might relate to some of the people who want to do something like this. It gives people adrenaline rush. It also gives people money. कुछ लोगों को पैसे कमाने आ जाते हैं, किसी को नहीं आते हैं. जिनको day trade नहीं समझ में आते, they stick to long-term investing, which is perfectly okay.
I think we'll have to stop here because the next session is knocking on our door. But the thing is that we all want to make money. There's nothing wrong in that. But make informed decisions. Listen to experts and try and identify who the experts are. Do it wisely and don't put all your eggs in one basket is what these guys say. With this, a round of applause to these wonderful guys. Thank you so much for the discussion and more sessions yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. That was a definitely informative session there. And I think Ankur and the others definitely woke everybody up with so many question and answers happening throughout the session. Now, next we come to a very crucial issue of women empowerment. Government of India has been taking steps to empower women and promote financial literacy among them. We have Prime Ministers Matru Vandana Yojana, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Ujjwala Gas Yojana, Jan Dhan Yojana, Mudra Scheme, the Women's Reservation Bill, Lakpati Didi Scheme, and many more. But I would like to quote Melinda Gates here, who said, when money flows into the hands of women who have the authority to use it, it changes everything for the women, for their families, and their communities. So now calling out to our third all-woman panel, who will be discussing empowering women in finance, closing the gender gap. So we have our first speaker, Amrita Sirohi, co-founder of IND Money. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Amrita. We have Mitali Nikor, feminist economist and founder, Nikor Associates. We have Anushka Rathore, finance influencer. Shreya Kapoor, finance influencer. And Sanchita Mukherjee, co-founder and partner, Blue Edge, and managing partner, Talk the Walk. And let me also invite Anisha Nair to chair this conversation. Absolutely fantastic to see all these women here. A big round of applause for all these women once again.
Thank you so much. Through the day, we have done a lot of talk about financial inclusion. I think here we'll try to talk more about women empowerment because of taking those financial decisions. Amrita, let me start with you. Recent studies and surveys are showing that at least in tier 1 cities, women who earn are now taking financial decisions. They are not handing over their salaries to their husbands or their parents. And the data shows at least 50% of them are taking their own financial decisions. How do you see it? Do you see it as we've come a long way, or do you see this as a glass half empty?
I would say, I don't know how much of it is a women problem, like you mentioned, I think it's more of people, to start investing and take that initiative to save more and invest more. But if you look at, there was a recent Tata AIA survey which said that 60% women still depend on their spouses to do the investments, while 85% of them manage household finances. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things that maybe stops us from taking control of our finances. What I feel is that one is the lack of education and also confidence, to tell you, like, I was buying an apartment for myself, and everybody in my family was questioning my decision constantly. And I thought a lot of it had to do with the fact that I think it's hard for women to get the confidence of others to take serious financial decisions, which also can be because of lack of education in the matter, or the risk that, I want to venture into an investment decision where I have done all my study and I still want to do it. So it's a mix of various things, but yes, more and more women are getting out there, taking those decisions. Yeah, but we do have a long way to go.
Right. Shreya, what do you think is the barrier here? Do you think the barrier is a lack of awareness, or is the barrier the stereotypes we live with? Because, my husband pays the bills, let him also make the decision then, why should I get into it? Do you think it is because of lack of awareness, or is it easier to stick to the stereotypes?
So for the past 3 years that I've been creating content, I've realized that the stereotypes more often than not are not true, especially in tier 1 cities, which is where the majority of my audience is. And I've seen that in a lot of cases, women are taking that initiative to go ahead and invest their own money while making mistakes. Like, I am an example of that exact trajectory, right? So even though I come from a family where my dad's a CA, I have done finance, but I was given that leeway of making mistakes. I think very close to what Amrita said. I think in a lot of cases, women don't have the confidence to make mistakes, wherein in a study, it was said that women on an average get better returns in the stock market than men because they just are not adrenaline junkies, like in general as compared to men. So they stick to long-term investing more often than not.
And by the way,
yeah. No, please go ahead.
So I was saying this is not just about investing, okay? This is also true at jobs.
Yeah.
Men who are 50% ready to take up a job will raise their hand and say, I want it. But women who are 80% there will still say, let me do 20 more %, then raise my hand for this job.
100%.
So I think it's how we made. I think we need to be a little more aggressive when it comes to...
It's not the stereotype, but it's the conditioning.
It's a conditioning.
I think it's a question of mindset more often than not. I think from the very beginning, from the childhood, we're just taught that, okay, question more, and like there's this imposter syndrome always. Like even if you have the right degrees, even if you have the right education, you still tend to question yourself a lot more. And I think, but slowly I have seen that trend change 100%, but not to say that that's not present at all. I think that would be a bit of a stretch.
Sanjita, do you think this whole thing about I'm scared to make mistakes changes according to the age of the woman also and the stage of life she is in? Maybe she takes those risks when she's younger, but if she has 2 kids who she wants to see in good schools, then she will not take that risk.
Yes. Am I audible? Yeah. All right, so I've been reading the room for the last 2.5 hours now. And a lot of information, and what you're saying is absolutely correct. I'll jump straight into that. However, let me just address all of these issues one by one. Traditionally, yes, a lot of classical conditioning has been there. But in today's date and time, a lot of these traditional roles are blurring. The woman is a mother, sister, homemaker, corporate honcho, media person, manufacturing, construction, deep tech, all of that. and more, entrepreneurs, right? She's very, very multifaceted. And olden days, yes, classical conditioning also had patriarchal stereotypes. Women were generally not encouraged to talk about money at the dinner table, joint family, all of that. Society's been changing, Tier 1 city, Tier 2, all of that. Nowadays, we have dinner table conversations, right? Nuclear families have happened. The woman is, of course, at the dinner table talking about the child's career, man and women, gender gap is decreasing. All of that is happening. Children are actually being encouraged to talk about money, all right? Women are being encouraged to discuss their relationship with money. Is it something that is ingrained in them, that they naturally take to? What I've heard today is something possibly that they're not naturally akin to just go ahead with wealth management, wealth planning by themselves. So what is it that triggers them? Is it a necessity? Is it planning for your retirement planning? Is it a death in the family which necessitates a woman to look at, say, succession, inheritance? So all of that, a lot of questions which are happening. Couple of data that I'd like to share, very interesting. 18 to 34-year-olds, right? So when we are talking, I'm from the mutual fund industry. In the mutual fund industry, we see a lot of new folios being added on a day-to-day basis. A lot of women new folios that are being added, right? But then, are they the decision makers? Are they the owners of these folios, or have these decisions been made by them? When we deep dive and peel off the layers of the onion, we see 18 to 34-year-olds are actually the maximum. They have created close to 300% rise in the number of new folios where women are concerned, followed by 34 to 45, and then it goes on. Then again, let's deal with this phrase, a very typical, stereotypical phrase that I'm going to quote right now, that is, women save, men invest, right? However, statistics actually show women who are joining India in the large numbers in the workforce, women who are working women in India, 74% of them invest, right? Out of which 49% actually invest in the capital markets, be it equity bonds, equity mutual funds, debt mutual funds, whatever it is, right? So these are startling numbers. Now, where is the challenge? The challenge is access to capital, education. Once you get the education, once you have the role models, right? We don't talk enough about role models. I mean, we are starting the session with a quote from Melinda Gates, right? Where are our role models in Arundhati Bhattacharya, Naina Lal Kidwai, investors, women investors. Access to capital, working, having your own salary, having the financial independence, inheriting money, and then the financial literacy bit of it. So you've inherited. You have the capital. What do you do with it? Do you know how to go about investing? Right? Do you have your role models in place? Do you have the basic education for it? So these are a couple of the challenges that the way I see it.
Right. Anusha, you're an influencer. Now, you must be getting a lot of feedback from your audience. I want to try and understand that, when it comes to women taking investment decisions, that would not happen if they were not earning. So, for women to actually get there, their empowerment of their own earning is very important, right? Would a housewife feel as empowered to whatever she saves to invest? Would it be on the same stature as a woman who's earning?
Definitely not, because it all comes down to, again, right, like, first of all, if she's a homemaker, there are gender roles. She has to take care, the burden of taking care of the household, the family's on her. And then, with very little time that she has, she's not going to go out and explore how can you invest. Couple that with the fact that her grooming has been in a way that, dinner table conversations, growing up, she's never been talked about this. And with that, her own imposter syndrome. With that, all the sales channels today don't really speak to people who don't understand anything. They're all they're full of jargons, they're full of, there is some barrier to entry there. So filled with all these things, definitely not as empowered, but having I have the ear of a lot of people online today, and 50% of my audience is women. So saying that is a huge statement, and the fact that they come watch my content is because financial literacy is not only investing, there are a lot of things. So say, for example, for women, lifestyle expenses are a big question or a big decision to be made. How much do you spend on that bag? How much do you spend on clothes? How much should you, how do you budget? Because as a woman, you have a lot of things to do. So where do you get all the funds from? How do you, make the decisions? For those content, or for that content, a lot of women, even, women who are not working, come to me. And one very, very important thing is that a lot of women come to me asking how they can save for their children. I think that is one decision where they take, I think, more serious decisions, and they're more active than the men who probably have children. So this one very specific trend I've seen is that they do want to, that caring for other things even comes in the form of investment.
Right. Mitali, you wanted to add something here?
So actually, I don't want to, deride anyone's opinions, but my mother is a homemaker and she's in charge of our money. I know what I earn. At one point I didn't. Now I run a business, so I need to track my expenses and my revenues and my profitability I do it on like literally a half-day basis. Who am I hiring for half day? Anyway, these Gen Zs, they only come for half day and work for you. So, but she's the one who has been managing my father's finances. She's been managing her father's finances. She's managed her mother's finances, her brother's finances.
Which includes what?
It includes everything. It includes investment decisions. It includes our SIP investments. It includes our mutual funds. She's the only person in our family who has a comprehensive Excel sheet of where what is invested. No one else knows. Like literally the only dashboard is sitting with her. So I completely disagree that a housewife would not have the exposure to be able to invest. In fact, I would say the reverse. If you look at the female labor force participation in India today, and I'm an expert on that, almost 60% of postgraduate women are not in the workforce. Now, these are highly qualified, educated, literate women who suddenly have a lot of time on their hands. And many of them are going for investing. So just because you are not employed in the formal workforce, in a job, or running your own business, doesn't mean that you can't participate in a financial market or that you lack exposure therein, because many women drop out of the workforce after 5 or 6 years of working because they get married, that's our first bump. When you have a child, that's your second bump. And if you've had a second child, then you're definitely out. So I completely disagree with this.
Perhaps you're speaking for the women who are in tier 1 cities. I want to ask you, what about those women who are in rural India and in smaller cities? Don't you think until they are empowered to earn, they will never come to this spot of making a financial decision or any investment?
100%. The issues of urban India and rural India, they are very different. But in between urban and rural India, we have something called tier 3 cities and tier 4 cities. You go to a Varanasi and you look at the aspiration level of young women in Varanasi, or the aspiration levels of young women in Asansol, or the aspiration levels of young women in, Madhya Pradesh or Maharashtra, smaller towns. I've been traveling a lot across tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns, and when we meet these women, right, of different age groups, be it, your 18 to 35 kind of age group, even that is a very wide bracket actually. 18 to 25 shows very different trends from 25 to 30, and then very different trends from 30 to 35, because maximum number of changes in a woman's life happen between 80 to 35. So, the kind of investments that you need, the kind of financial independence you need. I mean, when you're 18, what do you need money for? You need money for, okay, going out with some friends and having a coffee. But after that, it becomes about your education. A lot of women are still being stopped from making independent decisions about where they can go and study. Now, for that, if they had access to their own money, say the Kanya Samriddhi scheme, right, where parents can actually invest for many years during their, girl child's sort of growing up.
Till she's 10 years.
Till she's 10 years. Why doesn't she inherit that money? It should be in her name.
But the parents put the money, no?
Yeah, but then that's the whole point, isn't it? At what point do you become an adult?
You become an adult the day you decide I want to study there, you take a loan, you go and study and you pay it off. That's how you do it. You don't go to your folks.
And then when you go to take a loan, the loan officer tells you, अच्छा आपके father नहीं आए आपके साथ, आपके brother नहीं आए आपके साथ.
आ गए ना वापस stereotype पे हम.
That is exactly what happens.
You know, all the data points that you just mentioned are actually huge red flags. 70% women who are postgraduate are not participating in the workforce. So then how do you expect them to be financially independent and think of running your mom is an exception. Okay, but if you look at the larger audience.
But there is a large educated set of women.
So what you just said, 70% women postgraduate not participating in the workforce. How many senior management positions are actually held by women? So see, maybe there are exceptions, like you said,
Participating
city-wise.
in the workforce is not the same as participating in financial markets.
But you would agree that on a larger basis, considering our country, empowerment will come with employment, right?
And that's what I argue for day in, day out. Be it investments in care economy or in mobility infrastructure or in financial independence, all of these actions are, of course, meant to bring women into the workforce. What I am saying is that we should also look at financial literacy and participating in financial markets as a mechanism to bring women back into the workforce eventually, because this gives them the financial independence and may inspire them to come back to the workforce.
But to be honest, like managing personal finances is also something that men struggle with, right? On our app, we have a lot of men also writing to us that I need an advisor, I need guidance, So on a broader level, I think managing
financial literacy is for everyone.
Yes.
And I thought we'd talk about what is needed for women in this panel, because Sanchita, what do you think?
Yeah.
Because the different stages is at 18 to 35. At a younger age, a woman is perhaps spending more than investing. But when her children come, then she will have a different mindset. So at that point in time, how does she decide? Will she be taking the decision? Will it be a joint decision? How does it go from there on, Sanchita?
Right. So at this point in time, I have to talk about the digitization that has happened in India. It's the single most largest, biggest moving factor. Now, I'm not an authority on the lowest common denominator of rural India, right? However, small story over here. We had a domestic help. She was from the Santhal tribe. She was working for us, and she hailed from a very remote area of West Bengal, Bardhaman district, where she used to work as a daily wage worker. Very happy-go-lucky, carefree girl. Every night she would, post-work hours, she would be with her smartphone, right? You'd be shocked. So her salary, we would pay through NEFT directly into her mother's account in that remote corner of Bardhaman district, where her mother would go and make that into an FD the very next day as a savings, as an investment for her daughter. This girl, through YouTube, right, and through social media, knew every scheme of the central government, right, pertaining to state government benefits, central government benefits, wherever it pertains to finance, wherever it pertains to health, wherever it pertains to Medicare, insurance, all of that. Hugely available to her just on the power of social media and the smartphone and digitization. I think most foreign brokerages in India also, in the world, have not yet woken up to the power of NPCI, except Jeffries, I think, right? So UPI, humongous. The internet boom, digitization, humongous. But having said that, I think what we are all talking about over here, access to capital and education, I think a very nice point which Charuji mentioned about taking financial literacy as a part of school curriculum. I think CBSE is already doing that. So my daughter's in 11th grade in CBSE. She had to do a compulsory financial literacy course mandated by CBSE on what is savings, what is investments. I mean, over here, if you read the room, how many of us actually know the difference between trading and investments, right? We keep talking about speculation, gambling, equity markets, zoom in, zoom out, volatility, all of that. Lot of terminologies, right? It's very heavy on the technical aspect. But when she did this mandatory CBSE course, it actually specified what is insurance. Is it an investment product at all, or is it a risk product? So when you say risk, what is your risk? Do we even understand risk, right? No one size fits all. So what does one need to do? Things like that. So if it is, for example, in rural India, my only 2 bits, possibly to the regulators, to the government of India, to everyone over here. Look at the way as a country we've approached menstrual hygiene, right? It's no longer taboo to talk about it at all. Why can't we have financial literacy for women the way we have gone about talking about menstrual hygiene and things like that? Start from the school level.
Yeah, that's a great start, but I have to come to the influencers about this story because I think this is a really exceptional story about somebody watching YouTube to be abreast of all the government schemes. Shreya, have you seen this from your audience? Are they this well tuned in? Because government schemes are aplenty, but there is a slip between the cup and the lip, and it never comes down to the beneficiaries. So do you think influencers have such a huge reach? And what about people not even having internet? Half our country doesn't have internet.
I think that's a big misconception. I feel like majority of the people now have access to some form of internet, number one, at least tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. And what I've seen is the benefits are now trickling down. In fact, when we make content around Prime Minister Ujjwala Yojana, which is for tier 3, tier 4 audience, we see people asking questions. At least that's a step in the right direction. Whether or not that they're taking benefit of it is a separate question. But the fact that awareness in itself is happening, the fact that insurance is now available for like 10 rupees a family by the government is something that people didn't even know prior to the internet or prior to the fact that there were specific content creators creating content around that. I think that's a very big step in the right direction. And at least now we're in a position to answer the questions. Now we're in a position to kind of trickle down that information in very, very simple terms to the people who actually need that policy starting out. So yeah. And as an influencer, I would obviously want to believe that we're reaching multiple people.
That's great. I'll come for a question to Mitali. Because, influencers have a role to play in getting the information across, but the government also does its bit because it's in their interest to tom-tom about these schemes that they have. And since 2005, we are now having a gendered budget. So what role does that play? Does it, because this much ministry will spend this much on women, does it mean it trickles down better? How do you view this?
Absolutely. We've been tracking the gender budget since 2005 at Nikor Associates, and we have a proprietary database now prepared of the ministry-wise allocations and also how those allocations have reached beneficiaries to the extent that we could gather the data. I think the gender budget, of course, the transparency with which India's gender budget is released, you don't see any other country's gender budget like that. I've studied around 120 gender budgets across the world, and South Africa is the second one that comes close to India. And you would be surprised to know that most developed countries don't even come out with gender budgets. I mean, it's amazing. So India's gender budget is very, very detailed. Each and every scheme is listed out there. How much they're going to spend on women is listed out there. And that really helps not only government and government stakeholders, but also NGOs. Say when you are aware that this is going to be one scheme and this is going to have 100 crores allocation for women, you can actually go to your, sort of counterparts in the state government, in the district administration and say, sir, मुझे पता है कि ये वाला scheme आ रहा है, मुझे दिख रहा है कि इसमें, this much money has been allocated. Do you think that I am eligible to apply for this scheme? So definitely, I really, really appreciate the work that the influencers are doing to make people aware of schemes, because that's really a big gap. Like, people are normally not aware of schemes. And at least the government is doing its part in putting the information out there. Now this bridging of the gap between, say, people like us who track this information on a regular basis and the general audience is what they are doing, which is amazing.
Great. Amrita, one last question to you. The government is doing its bit, and along with NGOs, we are seeing the trickle down happen. When it comes to private enterprise, do you think they should also have, especially banking financial services, they should have products specifically made for women? Because we do hear about women-centric cancer insurance policies, etc. What more could be done where you have products specifically for women?
See, there are products specifically for women. Like you mentioned, there are insurances, there are FDs which offer higher rate of interest if you're women. So there are initiatives which are being taken there. But I think what private institutions should do is a lot more in maybe the educational part, help them, give them the confidence to take some decisions and, maybe in terms of products, absolutely, there is scope.
You're saying the buck stops with your own bank to cross-sell products for you, or who's going to make these new products? If you're with the bank who's not doing it, then how am I going to come to know about it?
No, absolutely. So there are a lot of manufacturers today who are happy to co-partner to create products which are specifically designed to meet needs of women. But what I meant is that there is a lot of, like what she mentioned, that when it comes to child planning or child care, or what she mentioned that, women take maternity leaves and then they don't come back. So those kind of, in terms of helping planning that income gap and then telling them, okay, this is maybe a best way for you to stagger your income or increase your wealth or take care of the gap periods, etc. Those kind of planning tools, etc. is something that we can also look at.
Can I add something there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Another thing that corporates can actually do, probably, like more at an insurance, investments and other scheme level, is also train their staff specifically to be a little bit more respectful and communicate better with women. A lot of women come back to me saying, "Hum bank ke paas hame jaane mein dar lagta hai." This one girl came up to me and said that a CA refused, or not refused, but did not entertain her doubt to get a GST number for a business because like तुम्हारा 20 लाख से ऊपर income थोड़ी ना होगा. So a lot of these, like you can teach your employees, you can in your whatever meetings that you have, like your communication meeting, your sales training meetings, you can teach them to be a little bit more respectful towards women and treat them as someone who can also make financial decisions and give them the same level of respect, importance, time that you would give to a man.
I will definitely pass on the feedback. But having said that, I think that's a general problem. I was giving you an example of me buying an apartment. Trust me, brokers won't take me seriously.
Agree.
So, I think that's a more generic problem than bankers, but absolutely, feedback taken.
Thank you, ladies, for spending the time and sharing your thoughts so candidly with the audience. We've run out of time, so I'm going to thank all of you. And I think the message is that we need more sensitization, and we need a greater amount of information coming through for women. And we definitely need to get out of the stereotypes. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you so much, all the lovely ladies. It was a lovely chat indeed, and we also know a couple of more accounts that we need to follow on social media so that we can keep up to date with what is happening in the finance space. Now, this evening has left us all enlightened, of course, and let me invite our next guest, that is Prakash Gaba,
Yeah, financial literacy. I will speak about financial illiteracy. See, basically, my karma bhumi has been Delhi. My beginnings have been real poverty, absolute poverty. I'll tell you a real story that will perhaps make you think. Whatever I speak now will be 100% truth, nothing but truth. Not closer to truth, but truth. I had very, very humble beginnings. Lived in a home of 120 square feet with my two brothers, mom and dad. Worn clothes discarded by people, real poverty. My father was a salesman in a store. So my learnings have been from home. I was a duffer in school. Absolute duffer, failed class 3. Passed SSC with some 53%. My mother just had one dream, beta, पढ़ लो. कम से कम एक नौकरी मिलेगी क्लर्क की एक बैंक में. There was a dream. Go to Aspire. धक्का दे देकर I passed that also. Then graduation भी हो गया. पता नहीं था क्या करना है. वोकेशनल गाइडेंस था नहीं, किसे मिले नहीं थे. रास्ते में ग्रेजुएशन का I met someone on the road. I asked him, what do you do? And he told me management. उस समय मैनेजमेंट बहुत ईजी था. Get admission. मैनेजमेंट कर लिया 2 साल. But that happened and that fired me up. My father by then had progressed in life and he had become rich. He had shops of textiles. But पढ़ लिया है तो you have to study. तो नौकरी तो करनी चाहिए. So I got a job. Got a job with Dalmia Dairy Industries Limited. Salary was 801 rupees 60 paisa. Nobody was paid less than me. Started young executive. But within 2 years, I became number 2 in the company. I was brought to Delhi, stayed at Defense Colony D332, lived for a year, set up a fertilizer plant in Darueda, Haryana, behind Segal Papers, 70 kilometers from Delhi. Once my father came home to Delhi, unannounced, and he said, Naukri chodo. So I said, Kyun? He told me something, Neech Naukri Unch Vyapar. As long as you are good, bosses will keep you on their head. They'll pamper you. The day they don't need you, you'll be fired. Because he had lost his job on a Diwali night. I remember that as a child. He had lost his job at the Diwali night and he became a hawker thereafter. He made it from there. He says, bosses are only, as long as you're in a set, they keep you, then they fire you. So I said, I have some conditions. He said, I accept all your conditions. I said, Kam se kam suno to. He said, no, I accept all your conditions. He wanted his son back. So I left Delhi, joined the family business and progressed, expanded the business, wholesale, retail, manufacturing, export, and made crores of rupees. जब लक्ष्मी आती है ना, तो फिर लक्षण जाते हैं. This happened with me also. Now, this is where the crux happens. Everyone who makes money in the stock market brags that he has made money. But anyone who loses money will never speak about it. He keeps quiet. That is the sad part of it. I have a second problem. I'm an exceptionally intelligent guy. Above average, yes. If you think I'm blunt, if you think I'm arrogant, no, I'm not arrogant, I'm blunt. Now, intelligence does not work in the stock market. Believe it, trust me. I thought I'm intelligent, there's logic here, this is what you do and you make money. I did it in my business also. I made crores of rupees. But when it comes to stock market, the intelligence stops working. Because there you are playing with emotions. You're playing with emotions. I met few people who were uneducated, who were speaking vernacular language and they were making good money in the stock market. And they used to brag, आज 20,000 कमाया, आज 30,000 कमाया, someone say 50,000 कमाया. I said, मैं पागल हूँ. सारा दिन मेहनत करता हूँ, 20% GST gross profit मिलता है. ये लोग तो बेवकूफ लोग, अक्कल नहीं. I am smart. क्या लेना चाहिए? And they told me one stock, Transpect Packaging, I bought it. I made 100% in around a month. I said, this is the business. ये तो stock market is easy है. This happened, went on. I started taking tips. And this went on for a while. If I bought something and sold at profit, it would go up higher and I will feel sad. Arey yaar, nahi bechna chahiye tha. And if it came down, nahi, ye to upar jayega. Aur upar jata tha. So this went on. Loss book nahi karna, profit book nahi karna. Loss book nahi karna, profit book nahi karna. Paisa gaya. Went on putting money, investing money in the market. And the trend turned. I did not know the meaning of trend. Financial literacy, MBA, padha likha, senior manager in young. I was 26 when I left Dalmia's. Second powerful man in the company. Number 2, sub intelligence tha. Doesn't work. I started losing money. I was comfortable losing money, and that is why I started losing more money. Now your comfort is the biggest risk problem that you have. And I went on losing money regularly. Until a day, I actually went to buy medicines for myself, and name of the medicine was amlopin. It's a blood pressure pill. I supposed to take one every day. And I went there. The chemist asked me for 12 rupees. I had a wallet. And I opened my wallet and I had 10 rupees. I still have the 10 rupees here. I had only 10 rupees. I didn't have 2 rupees to buy medicine for myself. So I went to my younger brother. I told him, 2 rupees dena. He said, kya chahiye? He said, dawa chahiye. Kaun si? I said, amlopin. Main mangata hu. He had only 55 rupees. This is the truth. That is the time I realized, dawned on me, that I have lost money. Uske pehle I was comfortable losing money. That day I came home and I cried, but the tears didn't come out. I told my wife, घर का खर्चा कितना है, कैसे कम कर सकते हैं? Mind you, I've lost crores of rupees in the market. And I said, if I have lost money, then someone has made money. If I have lost money, then there is someone who has made money. If that someone can make money, why can't I? I think that was the only day that I took a decision to make money. And I'm telling you, the truth is, unless you decide to make money in the market, wanting money is different. Wanting to make money is different. But decision to make money is required. The decision is to yourself, a promise to yourself. Not a promise to someone else, not to your wife, to your children, but a promise to yourself. If you make it, that is determination. That day I decided that I will make money. My wife said, give me 500 rupees a day. 15,000 is expense, I'll run the house. We were 6 of us. My wife, my son, and myself. My younger brother, his wife, and his son. 6 of us, no money. My age was 47 then. Today I'm 70. At 47, no money. This is what happens. This is the truth. All my intelligence had zero meaning. Absolute zero. It had no function to play in stock market. Because intelligence doesn't work in stock market. Because you're going to have a logic. It's supposed to go up, but it doesn't go up. It's supposed to go up. Valuation is good. It doesn't go up. It goes up when people buy. It comes down when people sell. It doesn't depend on logic. Why people are buying and why people are selling, we have no idea. Suppose you buy a stock at 70 rupees and it goes to 80 rupees. Can you tell me what have you done? What is your contribution from 70 to 80? Nothing. Zero. Zilch. It has gone up because someone has bought after you bought. And you had nothing to do. And it went to 80. That is why you made money. Suppose someone sells after you. It comes to 50. So profit is not in your hand. Loss is. As long as you can control the losses, you are in the game. And the longer you are in the game, you will make money. This is the harsh truth. Absolute harsh truth. So I said, I will study the stock market. And reluctantly or by chance, I came across someone seeing a chart. I said, ye kya hai? Bola, this is chart. Here you buy and here you sell. I said, I want to do it. This went on for a while. This did not work and I lost money. Chart tells you where the chart has been there. It can also tell you where it can go. So you can make money looking at chart and you can lose money looking at chart. But there's something more to it. I never knew about emotions. This went on for a while. And that time, those days, today you have YouTube, you have Instagram and other social media. Those days we had Yahoo groups. So I happened to browse web and I found Yahoo groups where some traders were posting chart. There was one trader who was posting very good charts, bought here and selling here. And he was posting charts live every few minutes. I sent a mail to him. I want to learn trading. Will you teach me? I got a reply after 2 days. Yes, I will teach you. I was happy. Then he told me, come to America. I said, I'll come to America. Jeb mein paisa nahi. I said, I'll come to America. Then he sent me one more mail. I'll charge you $4,000. I said, I'll give you. I had no money. माँ घर में आटा नहीं, माँ को बोलो पूरी पकाओ. पैसा नहीं जेब में उधर जाने का. नहीं पैसा 4,000 देने के लिए डॉलर नहीं. But I said yes to him because मुझे सीखना था. यहाँ पर मैं बहुत लोगों के पास गया, मुझे सिखाओ, कोई मुझसे मिलने को तैयार नहीं. Nobody was willing to meet me. Forget about teaching me. And same people today shake hands with me. I'm not going to name them. My wife, when I remember that evening, when I told him, my wife, that paisa nahi hai, how can we reduce expenses? She told me one thing. मुझे मिठाई बनानी आती है. I can take home orders. I said, please do it. So she started taking home orders, 1 kilo, 2 kilos, 3 kilos मिठाई. Luckily, luck would, my father used to say, something like, हिम्मत है मर्दा मदद है खुदा. आप हिम्मत करो, ऊपर वाला भी मदद करता है. So my wife got a big order those days for some kilo, 100 kilos or so, and she made 24,000 rupees. So she bought an air ticket for me from Bombay to Los Angeles for 22,000 rupees. With 2,000 rupees, I bought dollars. Luck would have it, my mama lives in America, Los Angeles. I landed up there. My mama's time was bad when my time was good. I had lent him $4,000. And he has become a multi-millionaire into jewelry business. But when he had no money, I had lent him money to my mama. So when I went there, I said, Mama, give me my money back. He gave me my $4,000. I went to meet that man and I gave him $4,000. 3 hours I spent with him. 3 hours. He abused me, that man. He took money from me, but he abused me. In English language. I can't repeat those words also here. But that abuse, he changed my mindset completely. I learned few things from him which I'm going to repeat here. Trade what you see, not what you think. Trade what you see, not what you think. Trade the markets, not the forecast. Your forecast is your opinion, and it has nothing to do with the markets. Trading is only about making money. These are the few things I learned from him in those 3 hours. He hammered it into my brain. Absolutely hammered it with abuses. Otherwise, I would have not learned. He changed my mindset completely. So I started to think like a trader. It's like conditional access system. If this happens, you'll do this. If this happens, you'll do this. You have no idea what the market will do. Absolutely. And today also I have no idea where the market will do, because the market will do what it wants to do. The market doesn't do what you want it to be done. It will do what it wants to do. What can you do? You only know where to buy and where to sell. And as long as you're willing to lose little and make more money, you're in the game. And the longer you are in the game, you are in the business. The problem is we trade with our emotions. So I never forecast a market. I trade markets. This journey continued today. And I can tell you with reasonable that it works. It's the thought process. It's not the chart. It's not the indicators. It is not a system that will work. Sometimes subsystems will have an edge. You got to have an edge where the edge will play out over a period of time. I have no idea the next trade that I take, will it work out or not? I have no idea. It may work out. It may not work out. But if it doesn't work out, I should be out fast. I suppose if I take a toss out here and take a trade based on just kata chapa, heads and tails, I promise you I can make money. As long as I lose 1 and make 3, I'll be happy to make money. Just simple toss. It's that easy. It's not difficult. Problem comes in, we don't want to lose. The problem comes is that we don't want to lose in a trade. We want every trade to work out right. That is nonsense. I have no idea which trade will work out. After a series of 20 trades, a series of 60 trades, in a game, I am a shooter, I am a marksman. I have done 14 national championships. I excel in sports, absolutely excel. A game is a 60-shot match. In a 60-shot match, you don't get 600 out of 600. You may shoot 540. That means there are at least some shot that has gone into 9 or an 8 or a 7. Every shot has not gone into a 10. If every shot go into an X ring 10, it will be 600 out of 600. And that doesn't happen. If that doesn't happen and if that is acceptable to you, why can't losses in the stock market should be acceptable to you? The problem is we don't want losses. And I tell you, the best loser wins. A person who's willing to lose money in the stock market is actually a winner in the stock market. And the person who's not willing to lose money in the stock market is a loser in the stock market. So willingness to lose, but lose little. That's the trick. We give enough space. Like I told you, I lost crores of rupees because I was comfortable losing money. Because I had lots of money. Arey koi baat nahi, upar jayega. I used to put investing money. That if I had stopped, nahi, isse zyada loss nahi karega, I would be rich. So the real thing is the emotions. If you can control emotions, you are in business. I see some silence here. Why is that so? I'm telling the truth, 100% truth. Absolute 100% truth. Nobody will tell you this. I'm sorry, any questions you have? Last week I traded a system, a method, very simple. ये होगा तो मैं कर लूँगा. I lose 1, make 3. I made money. And I did toss. That's all, I did toss. It works. But if you lose 3 and make 1, that's it. You're going to lose money. The big traders in the industry who make in millions of dollars, they risk on a large account, maybe around 0.75 or 0.8%. We risk 5% and 10%. If you risk 5% per trade, you will 100% lose money. Because you get 4 trades in a row wrong, of 20% out, you have to recover money. Like if you dig a well, if you keep digging it, coming up is more difficult. So trading is only about making money, guys, nothing else. And though I was a literate, with good education, I needed financial literacy, which was not there. I feel that financial literacy should start right in the beginning, right at the school level. I didn't even know until I was a graduate. The first stock that I bought was HDFC, I still hold it. That is only because my friend's girlfriend said buy the stock, apply for the IPO. Now is that the reason to buy? It happened to be lucky. Because she happened to work for HDFC, that was in 1978. I bought for 100 rupees 10 stocks, it got listed at 75 or 65. I struggled for a few years. Now HDFC is HDFC. I got lucky, but luck doesn't work in the stock market. Hope does not work in the stock market. Hope works in life, but hope does not work in stock market at all. Okay guys, thank you very much. Okay, any few questions that you have, please, please. Yeah, sorry. Feel free to ask me anything you wish.
Prakash, you said that trade the market, don't trade a forecast.
Yeah.
But the market is driven by the actions, and those actions are also driven by emotions. But if you are emotional in the market, you will lose money.
Yes.
Isn't this contradictory? Emotions is what is running the market, but if you get emotional, you will lose money.
I can tell you what, someone buys a stock, a tick is created. The reason for that buying, I do not know. Is it fundamental or is it possible? I have no idea. Why is bought? He has bought it and a tick is created, a tick happened. Series of ticks happen throughout the day, series of ticks happen. My job is to study those ticks. My job is not to see why he bought or why he sold, because when someone buys, there's someone else selling it. Someone is buying Hindustan Lever, someone is selling Hindustan Lever, the volumes are equal. That's why I never look at volume. But I do not know the reason why he's bought, and I don't care. But series of chart, patterns are formed, and you study those patterns. Patterns are likely, probability chances of working out well. Patterns will not work out 100% of the time. It may work out 60% of the time, maybe 70% of the time. But as long as you have an edge of right being 70% and loss being 30%, and if you lose 5 and you make 15, you are in business. We don't have to know the reasons for buying and selling. Honestly, no. We make it complicated by thinking. Because we are smart, we want to get justified. That's the problem. We shouldn't be doing it.
And sir, can you make long-term wealth by doing trading? Because, all through the day we've heard about investing for long-term wealth.
Oh yes, investing is a different ball game by itself. I'm a day trader. I'm also a swing trader. I'm also an investor. Money that I make in intraday trading, normally invest into swing trading. The money that I make in swing trading, normally put into investing. Buy today and sell it for a few years. Yes, I still have investments doing that. Absolutely. But intraday money, in and out the same day. You lose money and never take your losses home. If you have lost money today in intraday, give it away in the trading, right away, finish off. Don't take it home. Because it's bad today, it will be bad tomorrow. If a trade has not worked out well today, it will not work out tomorrow. Hope does not work in the stock market, it works in life. When I had no money, what did I have? Just hope. That works in life, but not in the stock market. Yes, any other questions, sir? Yes, sir.
So in trading, stop loss is there. I also do a lot of trading, and I also follow you, by the way, on CNBC Awaz. Every morning I see you. So whenever I take a trade, and if there is a loss, sometime I take it. But immediately after that, it recovers.
Market will do what it wants to do. It is not in your control, I promise you this.
Yeah.
Even we ourselves are not in our control. That's the problem.
Yeah. So next time you don't do.
I'll tell you where to
do
put a
that
stop loss.
discipline. Sir,
I'll give you a little trick where to put a stop loss. You follow any methodology that you want to. Doesn't matter. Yeah. At one point of time, you say, it will go, after I buy, it will go up. Or it could come down. Two things could happen. Now, if it comes down to this place, I will exit. That decision has to be predetermined before you take a trade. And if that happens, you exit. Full stop. Quite possible it may fall. Quite possible it may hit your stop loss and go up. That is the market's job, not your job. Your job is to put your stop loss where you decided beforehand, before you took a trade. As long as you're disciplined, I promise you, here, you'll make money. But you must have a system, and the decision should be beforehand, and you must have a risk-reward ratio in your favor, plus the edge in your favor. You cannot lose. There are two moving parts. One is the risk-reward ratio. Other moving parts is an edge. How many times you're right and how many times you're wrong. That's it. It's a simple game. Problem is we don't follow it.
1:3 is a good ratio?
I'm sorry?
1:3.
I prefer 1:3. I don't prefer 1:2.
Yeah, 1:2 is risk.
And I'll tell you what, I take 5 points risk. Now 5 points is too tight. But if I lose 5, I make 15. What do? That means I can go wrong 3 times. If I'm right 2 times, I'm happy. At the end of the day, you should be having green. That's all. If you have a green day every day, you will have a green week. And if you have a green week every week, you'll have a green month. If you have a green month every month, you have a green year. What else do you want? So look for a green day every day. These are all practical solutions I'm giving you. Yes, sir. Anyone else? This is a rare opportunity. Please ask me whatever you can. I'll be very happy to answer. I have only one purpose in life, to improve lives.
Hello, sir. This is Ahmed.
Yes, sir.
So you just mentioned that stock market is not about emotions, and we need to just
Can you
have
please
a
repeat,
watch.
please, louder? Can you just
Hello.
pick it up?
Yeah, I'm audible. It
Yeah,
is
please
better.
say. Yeah.
So you just mentioned that stock market is not about emotions, and we need to move out of it, and we need to have a constant watch. But like professionals like us, we cannot keep a watch on the market. So what do you recommend for us?
I will tell you what you must do. You must do swing trading. Forget about intraday trading 100%. Now, if you want to do intraday trading, you can trade commodities market in the evening. It opens up to 11 o'clock in the night. If you cannot do that, you're busy the whole day, please request you to do swing trading. Buy today, sell after 10 to 12 days. That's easy.
Okay.
But swing trading, not in futures, in delivery cash, not in options. Because options, you will lose money, theta decay will happen, slightly complicated stuff at this stage of life. But the more you hold options, you're likely to lose money if your trade does not work out, even if it stays sideways. So avoid options, avoid futures, because volatility will kill you. You will not be able to handle it emotionally. Stick to delivery. Stick to delivery. Absolutely delivery. You are safer. And that too, again, suppose you have an X amount of money divided into 20 parts. And then you invest into 5% of that 20 parts into the stock. Even if it comes down 20%, what is the impact on you? Not even 2% on your total capital. So don't worry about it. Stick to delivery, please. I have many stocks which are fixed for delivery, which I intend to hold for 3 to 5 years. Doesn't bother me. Just doesn't bother me.
One add-on question, sir.
I'm sorry?
One add-on question to it.
Yeah,
like
please.
You just mentioned that you find
Can you please hold it up?
Yeah,
please?
you find a good mentor, like you went to US and learned the stock trading.
Yeah.
So any tips for us how to study the patterns and all?
I will
Any
tell you
good
one
course?
thing. I will tell you something. Please,
Yeah.
thank you for asking me that question. Pick up one method, just any one method, and become a master in that method. More the knowledge, worse it is for you. But know one little method, one small method, which has an edge, and practice it for around 20 hours. I say it for 42 days continuously. 42 days is 6 weeks. Why 6 weeks? Because it becomes a part of your subconscious. If you practice one method for 6 weeks, it becomes part of your subconscious. It's a repetition of the same thing again and again and again and again. It works beautifully. 6 weeks you do it. Any one method, doesn't matter. But become a master in that method. Nobody should know that method better than you do. Over a period of time, you will have an arsenal of methods and setups, which you can pick and choose whenever you want to. I'll tell you one, I had read a book, and that book costed me 14,000 rupees. The 14,000 rupees, those days are big expensive. I'm talking about 2006, 2007. The entire book I read was no good for me, except one chapter 5. In the 5th or 6th paragraph, he had started using RSI in a different way. I said, I have not read something like this. It's a nice way of waiting. Let me try it out. And I used that, waited for that setup to come. And that setup came after a month and a half or 2. And I traded that setup. I made around some 22,000 rupees. Cost of the book was out. What did I do? I have one more setup now. So whenever that setup occurs, I trade it. It gives you money. So you master that. Simple, I'll tell you. You want to wind up? Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much for asking us. Thank you. Thank you very much. Time is up. Otherwise, I could have stayed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gaba. You literally reminded me like trading in stock market is like life because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and when times are bad, probably just be patient and lie low. But I think one thing that can be done is enroll on Stock Grow, and you can learn way much more there. So ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests and participants, what an incredible journey it has been today at the Right to Excellence Financial Literacy Summit. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope all of you found these sessions as enlightening and enriching as I did. I'd like to thank our sponsor, StockGrow, Bharat ka apna financial education app. StockGrow leads the Bano Financially Free #BFF movement dedicated to educating young India on achieving financial freedom through informed investing. Kyunki invest karega India, to badhega India. Safe travels, stay inspired, and may your path to financial excellence be illuminated with continued success. Until we meet again, this is Divya signing off. Goodbye and thank you so much.